We'll call the meeting. We'll call the meeting to order, and if we can do, Brenda, can you do the roll call, please?
Sure, unless you'd like Angel to do it.
Sure. Shell Hart,
Here.
Greg Filak,
Here.
Jack McLaughlin,
Here.
and Tom Tucson.
Here.
Anyone online, Brenda? I mean, Dave?
Dave is not online, no.
Okay.
Didn't we open the meeting for Dave so he could be here?
We did.
Hi, Brenda.
He'll be here.
You're exactly right.
Let the record reflect the shock of our attorney.
Yes. it's gonna wait.
Never seen that before. All right, let's stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Steve's walking in.
Steve's coming in.
Yeah. Needs to sing.
Oh, look good.
I think your clocks are a little fat.
I don't think so. I think your legs are a little slow.
Let the record reflect Dave Hume is in attendance.
Good, so to move the meeting plan. All right.
Always the first line of business.
That's actually on line 3. So, all right, approval of meeting agenda. I had a chance to take a look at that.
Any motion?
Second. In favor?
Aye.
Public comment period. So, we do have a public comment period in the beginning and at the end, so we can limit any comments to 3 minutes, please. So anyone from the public want to step up? Nobody, huh?
No.
That's fine. Okay. Third party reports and presentations. Anyone from Crow? No.
Would expect it.
And anyone from the sheriff's department?
I do have, since no one's here from the sheriff's department, just wanted to let you know, we have the, I sent out the scope to Kissimmee, Orange, and FHP.
Yeah.
And then Osceola. So I should be getting that back in the next few days or so, and then Jack and I are gonna put together, which we already kind of have, a draft with pricing, and then the board can review and see which way you want to go.
So we'll review that at the budget workshop.
We can do it at the budget workshop for number purposes, and then in the next meeting, you would have to approve.
Sure.
How you want to go,
Alright.
but yes,
And I'm sure I should remember that this is scope specifically going back to a fine person or staying with details.
it's both,
Yeah.
it's both, and that way the board can decide which way you
Right.
want to go.
And then pricing them as separate options. So we can-
Yes, yep, it'll be details and then a full-time person.
And are we gonna talk now or attorney's report on all things scooters and sidewalks? Or
Oh, I was just throwing that in there just
Okay.
in case they didn't want it to get lost down here.
Right.
So Jan will have her report, but I wanted to do that under sheriff's department, just so I remembered.
I did see somebody, oh, you must have wrote them.
It's up me now.
Bill, do you want to come on up? We passed pro, but we can still revisit. We still can go back since we're still in the section.
All I was gonna say is that the Crow board wanted to talk about having the master plan go to our master plan group and have them review it. So that's the status of that.
Yeah, it's already been sent to them.
That's, yeah, I was at MPAC on Wednesday and they acknowledged receipt and I got, well, not comments from them, but
That's where it is.
Do you expect there will be discussion this Wednesday to vote consent, whatever the word would be, as to whether or not you're gonna do a meeting or what should we expect this Wednesday out of the vote?
I think as far as our president is aware, it's been passed to the master plan advisory board. I don't know if he's gotten enough data from the group yet or not, so I wouldn't expect motion tomorrow.
Okay, what was the discussion on Wednesday's meeting?
that they had already reviewed the report and didn't have any questions for it.
Was MPAG of the mindset that they should do a meeting? What did they express a recommendation that they were intending to take?
No, because our request isn't to MPAC, it's to the Crow board.
Right.
So I didn't ask them if they wanted a meeting.
It sounds like the Crow Board has subsequently kicked it back to MPAG, which if they didn't discuss it in their meeting, then all of a sudden we're gonna be in another month because
Yeah, that's,
MPAG wasn't aware that they were supposed to ask or make a recommendation.
can we force the issue? There's nothing. We're
No.
preventing them from making the decision on Wednesday.
I mean, can we ask them to be in attendance on Wednesday for discuss, I prefer not to wait a whole nother month of. Can we ask them to be in attendance on Wednesday
We could, I,
Attendance where?
at the Crow meeting?
Oh,
it might be short notice for that. So,
Well, I mean, if they were already, if the vibe you're picking up on was, they were saying, hey, yeah.
Yeah.
And the Crow board is saying they're gonna go with what MPAC says, and the only thing it sounds like that needs to happen is MPAC needs to show up at the Crow meeting and say, hey, yeah, so the Crow board can say, hey, yeah.
But that's up to Crow.
I got that. I'm trying to motivate a conversation, it's not gonna be another
Well,
month and two.
Is it on the agenda? I don't
I
follow.
don't
Matt-
think there's a at Crow's meeting coming up on Wednesday.
It's not on the
I
agenda.
don't think it's on. the agenda. I gotta check my notes.
Is that something
Okay.
you can suggest to add to the?
I think we're gonna be another month.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do we need, Jan, since we're here with Crow, do we wanna talk now about the,
No,
no?
there is a master
That's on the
planning
agenda, I'm
update, yeah,
sorry.
so let's go ahead and get that.
My bad.
Shell is dead set on going to dinner tonight, so. We're trying to. Consent agenda, minutes of, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Regular report, so you can see, I kind of flip things around over here to try to get through the regular reports. And then there's business matters and discussion items. FYI, discussion items can still be voted on if we decide that. But right now, those are just for discussion, so.
Hey, I don't see that agenda, if that's the same one in the packet.
it is.
It's the same
Yeah.
one.
I got
You,
business matters
you don't have the right one. You're 420, you're 2024.
Yeah,
next, so. Let me see what I got here.
so we're gonna
Did
split up.
Dave drive you here?
We're gonna split
got
up
it,
the
I got it
district
here.
manager. I'll give a little update that I have and then Carrie can update you on the rest. A couple of things, you're gonna get the budget workbook. Tomorrow, what we were waiting on is for the bonds to post because we have to incorporate that information into the assessment table. So that now we've done all of that stuff with the bonds, so we were able to incorporate those parcels into the assessment table. So now, which is kind of good that I waited because I got your final insurance numbers, so we won't have to fluff the budget there. Carrie was able to get mosquito controls number, and then we have some other ancillary stuff that came in, so it was good. The only outstanding item in regards to the budget that will not be in the workbook is the boardwalks, because the report's not finished yet. We're hoping to get that before your approval. If not, we can throw a number in there if we need to, but my understanding is the report so far hasn't found anything structural.
Well, he doesn't go in the water until Thursday.
Oh, okay. So without the water, yeah.
So ET on that report would be.
He's about 30 days out when he completes it.
What is the number you placed in for ponds? Did you take the?
So what I did,
Moderate.
yeah, what I did was I took Mark's thing and I put 700,000
Just a.
in there based on some of the information, like the high priority stuff. I didn't go really granular down here. I just took the high priority stuff that was kind of in red that needs to be addressed. And based off of those numbers, which Mark did a really good job of getting a median number, so we could get proposals that come in much lower than that or much higher. He kind of took a median cost, which is what I went with, which was 700,000 to address all of your high priority things within 1 year. And I'll lay out and I'm gonna highlight what your increases are based on. And I'll highlight each one. You'll see my notes off to the right, how we came up with that number. Your big pushers are sidewalks. I put that back in there because remember, you already have 585,000 baked in. So I increased it to be able to do Central Village. So that number's in there. The pond number is in there. And there's one other thing that was a high pusher.
Well, that's not high, but you have an operational issue that we might find a little bit more from here tonight. Because there's going to be work outside the scope of the contract, some of the ponds that aren't responding to traditional treatments.
Okay.
So I think Alex can probably talk a little bit about that tonight.
So let me go back just for a second. So on the pond remediation that Mark identified, so we're
Mhm.
the 700,000-ish number is based on what Mark calculated just for high priority,
Mhm.
but that doesn't include the yellows.
No,
So my question there is, are we going to find efficiencies if the intent is to address the yellows as well? I don't know that it would be cost efficient to spend 1 year addressing all the reds when there's yellows right next to the reds in the pond areas.
again, that's for y'all's
Okay.
discussion. Yeah,
But it also doesn't include the scope creep that.
that's right. That is
Okay.
correct. What I did was put a number so you all can see from a starting point, because I'll just tell you right now, and everybody's gonna be like, oh,
Big number.
it's 52% increase
Mhm.
with the numbers that I put in, and I say justification for each one of the numbers that came in. Doesn't mean you all are gonna agree with that, obviously, with a 52%
And
increase.
this is usually what happens though, every
Mhm.
year, if we put everything in and we say we're just gonna do it as is. It's
But-
always high.
Yes, and I'm gonna caution you, and I do this every year. So you're gonna get this, and it, like I said, your big pushers are the pond, 700,000, sidewalks at 1.1 million.
It's in addition to 585.
It's only 600,000, but the number overall is 1.1, but you're only adding above that 585 that's already baked in from
And
last
that
year.
will catch up the gap that he identified last week with what we haven't finished in North Village, plus fully addressing Central Village.
Well,
We're gonna talk about that too. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. So anyways, those are your big pushers. I got your insurance number and all of that, your basics. So that's really where your increases are coming in. So you're talking overall between pond and sidewalks alone, that's no contribution to reserves. You're looking at about a little bit over $1 million increase between ponds and sidewalks. And that's really it. And again, we have Mark's, I'm sorry.
Russ aside about CapEx or equipment or anything.
Yeah, there's ancillary in there too, but those aren't pushing the needle as much as those two items are. We talked about, like Carrie alluded to, Island Village, we talked to Mattamy, they're thinking some of that stuff's gonna come on a lot quicker. So, as we talked about when we renewed the contract for 5 years, if there was a need for budget increase, when Mattamy did come on, we need to increase that with personnel.
Phase 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it, the workshop?
4A and 2A and 2B. So those are all things that we will discuss. If there needs to be additional staff for Island Village. The first year isn't gonna make that much of a difference. Everything's fairly new as far as pressure washing, that kind of stuff. But as you get into year 2, it's where the expense is gonna come. So things like that, there are other things, vehicle, but those aren't the big needle movers than those two items.
Okay.
So-
Anything else on the budget though?
What do you mean?
But I mean, is there, do you have, besides that, do you have anything else on the budget?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Other than that,
For now or for the
work, how was the play?
the workshop, we can do it for the workshop, it's just fine. And we should have an answer right before your budget workshop about some ancillary funds that could help out with those that would seemingly take those big numbers off of your increase, that would handle those specific projects. So we'll be able to do that. Other than that, we can discuss everything else at the workshop. I just wanted to let you know, nobody please have a heart attack when you see the numbers.
Sure.
It does reflect a 52% increase. And my other thing is, when we get out of that budget workshop, you're gonna approve that tentative budget at your May meeting. My thing is, I hate it more than anything when everybody goes, oh, throw the kitchen sink in. If you have no intention of raising your budget 52%, don't put the kitchen
Don't
sink in there, because
scare
we
the
send
residents.
out letters and it just creates chaos when all your intent is to lower that number. So I would say get it to a realistic number that you feel comfortable with. And we send out letters to the residents, but to send out a 52% because we put everything in the kitchen sink in it, when really you're gonna end up at a 10%. There's no reason to get everybody so excited like that, because it will. it'll get people like
Oh,
really
yeah.
clutching their chest.
Well, we can sell tickets.
Yeah.
Why not?
So that's my only recommendation. What do you have?
Quick comment on the sidewalks. It's probably more of a budget discussion. There's about 200 panels left in North Village. There's 50 open right now, 48 as of today. We had a discussion today about how to get that completed this year, so I think we'll probably discuss that at the budget workshop, so.
With the existing funds, you think?
Pretty close, I
Pretty
think.
close.
Yeah.
Yep. We're gonna split the baby essentially is
Yeah.
what we're gonna talk
And,
about.
and part of it is, when we started, we were doing, 30 panels in 3 weeks, and now we're doing 50 panels in about 10 days. Our guys have gotten much more efficient, they've got it figured out. The test project that we did was like one long section, now it's one here and one here. We didn't really know how long it was gonna take us, and the guys have gotten much better, we're much more efficient. We think we could probably lower your cost on that.
Yeah, definitely.
Couple things, canal cleanup I put in the report. Should be done Wednesday, Thursday, they're targeting towards the end of the week.
18 semi-trailers?
That's,
That's a lot.
he's halfway through, so. He did tell me today that he underestimated on the last couple sections.
Oh, that's terrible for him.
Yeah, I told him that, so. And that's why he's not sure when he's gonna get done, but, we're dumping it in our site. I think once it dries out, Russ and I looked at it, it's just organic material, you just spread it and leave it there, so. There's something in there the wild turkeys like, they almost guard it when the guys are coming in and out of there. What else is on there? I think that's probably it for me.
Okay. Any other reports? Oh, vendor reports. We do have,
Yeah.
Premier here, so if you want to bring them up, because I know there was
Yep.
something you wanted to add.
Mhm. And we'll just have an on-standing vendor report. Oh, we do have it on here.
Yeah,
but
it's on,
We'll have it as a thing and it'll always be on there whether somebody's here or not.
Yeah.
Alex just texted me these photos when he came in, so I want to share them with you.
Yeah, so there was a request to potentially, that's pictures from Lake Reinhardt today, so I had the boat here and was on it today myself personally, providing treatment. There was a request to essentially physically remove the algae, which I recommended that we stick to treatment, and the reason why I recommend that is kind of displayed in those photos. When you do a physical removal, you get just what's on the surface. If you look closely at those pictures, you look kind of underneath that algae, right? There's a lot of algae that's actually on the bottom. So my concern with doing a physical removal would be, I'm gonna go in there, remove all that material. 3 days later, all that stuff that's on the bottom is simply gonna float up and we're gonna be back to square one. With a herbicide treatment, obviously in that picture, you see how fast that algae is turning black and dying. That was not even off the lake yet from doing it. That's where I kind of started. So you can kind of see how quickly the algae is reacting to treatment. And hopefully should drop out 5 to 7 days. I'm hoping, seeing how quickly it should turn. It also is quite smelly right now because it is decaying. You can smell when it's going. So my hope is that with herbicide treatment, we're not only gonna get the stuff on the surface, but also the stuff on the bottom. Now, going back to Carrie's point about effective treatments and being preventative. Part of the issue with that lake, about an hour ago, so I've had very, very limited time to review the water quality testing results, but I did get the results at a quick glance. That lake is about 3 times above where I would start to be concerned. So there is a significant amount of phosphorus in that lake. The number was 333 parts per billion. Anything over 96 parts per billion is considered high. So you have significant phosphorus in that lake. Also, a significant amount of free reactive phosphorus is one of the measures we looked at. Measures how much phosphorus is actually available for algae to grow. So the problem we may have with that lake is even with effective treatment, you might have regrowth within a week where we're back at square one. So my recommendation is based on some of those phosphorus numbers, and I'm gonna work up the numbers. I gotta get volume measure of the lake at the depths, and then I can work up a treatment protocol to reduce that phosphorus level, which hopefully the goal would be long-term reduction of algae growth. Most of the lakes out here, we tested 13 lakes. They're all high, but I'll be honest, they were actually lower than I expected. I expected the numbers to be really, really high. 333 is really high. I say 300 is where I start saying really high. But most of them were in the high 150s to 200s, which is high, and we probably want to take action on those, but the good thing about this is it's all a formula based on how much phosphorus you have, so it was not as high as I expected, which hopefully means lower price to actually mitigate it. Lake Reinhardt being such a large lake, it's obviously gonna have a larger price tag, but it is significantly higher than any of the other lakes. I think one other lake was above 200. But Lake Reinhardt is really the one that really stuck out.
Well, everything feeds into that too.
Why, why do we get so much phosphorus then, like?
I mean, if I go down there and I see the lawnmower right by the fountain or the jets. I mean, they just mow right on that downslope and all of the grass clippings go right into the lake. There's not really much you can do about that unless you try to bag it.
Yeah, and that was something I was gonna comment on, there's grass clippings, there's, leaves from the trees. Over time, even if we mitigate the phosphorus, it's gonna slowly start to rise again, because we have organic material going in. To answer your question, why is there so much phosphorus? Sometimes it's simply, legacy phosphorus, and what I mean by that is, there happened to be more phosphorus right in the ground right there compared to the lake a mile down the road. So that could be part of it. You're also obviously excavating a large area there, or I don't know if that was a natural lake to begin with. So to that point,
This is man-made.
man-made, yeah, so it could be just simply you hit a bigger phosphorus deposit than some of the other lakes. To that point, you also have more shoreline, more grass clippings, more fertilizer, et cetera, that all, adds to it. You've heard me talk about phosphorus and nitrogen being the two key drivers, wanting to see, always saying phosphorus is usually the one. Testing did confirm that your nitrogen levels pretty much across the board are normal. Nothing that I would concern with. So
What drives nitrogen? It's not grass clippings and leaves and all that. What is it that drives nitrogen?
pretty much grass.
Same thing.
Yeah, same thing, but some lakes, the reason why the nitrogen sometimes isn't a problem is usually the bacteria in the lake is able to convert that into nitrite, which is not readily available for algae. So it tells me the natural occurring bacteria is doing a pretty good job of that as it is. So it's nothing to be concerned with, which leads me to believe that phosphorus is your main driver of all the time.
Which is reuse water.
Yeah, and reused water is a good example too, right? Sometimes you test reused water, and I'm talking about 300 parts per billion. I've tested reused water coming in being as high as 10,000 parts, right? Because it's pretty much all nutrient.
Right.
Right, and there is some municipalities that have, obviously this might be on your scope, but there's some municipalities that have taken efforts to reduce that before they bring it to you. I don't know if that's something that any of the local water treatment facilities are doing. There were some grants that our governor gave out years ago with his platform there and clean water. So I don't know if that's something that might be in the work, it might be something local. But in the short term, right, is that phosphorus is already there. We can maybe hopefully see better use in the future, but.
To Dave's comment before about grass clippings, would you, obviously anything's gonna help, I got that. Would you think it's worthwhile for us to ask, it's probably gonna come at a cost, asking our landscaper to do bagging around whenever he's turning around, 10 foot, 12 foot, whatever around?
In my experience, it's usually landscapers typically, they could. Best option sometimes is either weed whack or do some different types of mowers, maybe it does come with a little higher cost. In my experience, the cost difference to do that versus maybe mitigate phosphorus and then do maintenance doses long term is less than the extra charge you're gonna see on a recurring basis for your landscapers. In my experience,
Do you think we're gonna be cheaper just to figure
Yeah,
it's gonna go into the lake and just treat?
yeah, so ideally, the goal would be do a reset, get it down to usually my target is 50 parts per billion or less, right? And then, monitor it over time. Hopefully we get, I've seen some lakes that need a maintenance dose in 3 years. Some you don't need to do anything for 10. I wish I had a crystal ball to tell you it all. It's all based on grass clipping, fertilizer, et cetera. I would recommend having a conversation with your landscaper about maybe considering using a non-phosphorus fertilizer. That definitely helps. There's a lot of communities I see with perfectly green lawns that use a much higher nitrogen fertilizer, saying if we don't have any issues. You might want to,
That's something we can do.
Well, in the contract, it says you can't use phosphorus.
Yeah.
Doesn't stop the homeowner from using phosphorus, but our landscape contractor, you
So
can't.
we already do.
Yeah.
to that point though, later on, we know that.
Do we know for sure? I mean, I've got no reason to think they're not, but let's at least ask the question.
We can ask for the label, but I'm pretty confident they're not using
Okay.
phosphorus.
So, to that point, I mean, the best, in my experience, the best thing is, mitigate phosphorus and then long term look at, maintenance dosing. The reality of it is, I mean, if we do a reset on all of the hard to treat lakes, what ideally long-term, I mean, long-term is like 10 years, ideally, if we get that phosphorus levels down, we're seeing much reduced algae growth, where my budget can shift towards being even more proactive. We could likely maybe fit some of these products we're talking about using at the reset into the maintenance program. So it might be something that we transition to be actually using that product as a maintenance, and just every year we put a little bit in as part of your maintenance contract, to where long term you can build it in to that maintenance price. 'Cause, your maintenance prices are normally high, as I've told you before, based on the conditions out here. Not only not being able to use copper-based herbicide, it's the most effective herbicide to use, but also you have obviously high phosphorus issues. There's different summer weed issues. If we can solve those and reduce those and be proactive, long term, it can help keep your maintenance costs down as well.
Jan, if we wanted to go down the road, would we as a district be able to put out some sort of board resolution prohibiting residents and property owners from using phosphorus based?
Well, the county already has it, so
So,
they don't enforce it, but
well, yeah, right,
The only one I've seen from successfully do it, that they made a significant difference through the community I work with on the East Coast called Valencia Cove. The only way they were able to successfully do that is the board voted to take landscaping and put resident landscape as part of their jurisdiction.
and
Which obviously you can't-
I'm not suggesting we're gonna go out and test everybody's lawn, that's not where I'm going,
Yeah.
but a lot of people, if you put it out there and say, hey, this is what's driving a cost in the lakes, and if the nitrogen based one isn't gonna cost me more, it's still gonna be effective.
you could do a little communication. Here's the impact of using phosphorus fertilizer.
Right,
Here's what our costs are. We've got phosphorus contamination in our ponds. Here's how we
well, if
mitigate
it's already
that.
prohibited by Osceola County, we don't have to do anything, we
Yeah,
can
make
just
a
say, hey,
reminder.
Yeah, just-
When we
yeah.
send the notices.
yeah.
Your increase, like by
That
the way.
envelope's getting huge, by the way.
Well,
It's a 3 reminder right now.
we've got an article every month in the magazine that nobody reads, that we can put out and say what they should do.
I mean, if we wanna do that as a social media post or
Yeah,
something like that, yeah.
Makes sense on our website.
Yeah, our normal inefficient use of communication.
So I contacted Osceola County about a buffer zone. Because every county is different. We were doing a landscape RFP is why I wanted to know. They're like, well, we recommend 10, but we don't enforce it. We don't have an enforcement mechanism.
Yeah, and then, to look at all the other ponds, I did provide my report, which is in part of the board agenda. The only ponds I want to draw attention to is SB 11. That pond had a significant algae bloom when I rode with Dylan from Infomark. We continued to treat it. What we're seeing on that lake is that algae is part of, it's an algae bloom that's related to a submerged vegetation dying off, so that lake has significant slender spike rush. So the slender spike rush is about 80% controlled, I'd say, at this point. Typically, when you have submerged vegetation, those nutrients that are in the water can get bound up in those, and then those submerged vegetation gets released, causes that algae bloom. We're continuing to treat that algae, but that is one of the lakes where we are not seeing the greatest results, admittedly. Part of that is because that species of algae, without putting it under a microscope, I can't guarantee it, but it looks like an algae that's pretty common that we call Leptolimbia. It's a little more resistant to treatment algae. It takes sometimes a lot of treatments to get rid of it. So that's part of the reason why we're struggling a little bit with that one. And there's the other lake we're seeing that on as well, which is once again back to that slender spike rush, is I think it's LV3, which is the lake down near the church.
Yeah.
Same thing, same species of algae. If you look at it, it's just a little different to
Yes.
difficult to control. So other than that, all the little minor algae we see, we continue to treat. We've seen a significant reduction in pretty much all lakes, I believe, to this point. Most of your duckweed, which was the small little stuff that sometimes gets confused for algae because it creates large mass. I would say that's 99% control across all lakes. So we're pretty happy with that, and we haven't seen really too much regrowth with that. So, pretty pleased with the progress we've made the last couple of months.
So Angel, just as a general comment, I mean, this is the time of year when we start seeing the blooms. I don't know specifically what I'm asking for, other than some aggressive communication to the community. And when we're treating things, I mean, if we know we're gonna get, Reinhardt's a perfect example, if we just sprayed a bunch of stuff that we know in the next 2 weeks is gonna start smelling like hell, let's put it out ahead of time so people know, hey guys, expect that this is gonna do that because it's being treated. The problem we have is when all of a sudden we get 1,000 complaints from people and we're trying to catch back up to that is when we get problems.
Yeah, and, to your point, I mean, I know my HOA community, there's Facebook groups and whatnot.
Yeah.
I definitely watched at least a dozen different people with their phones out videotaping me as I was spraying, so I would wouldn't shock me if there's information out there. A few residents actually kind of waved me down and asked, well, I'm assuming they're residents, but people around the way got, what was I doing? I explained to them, seemed happy that I was doing it, obviously, so. Communication is key. We'll keep on it. I'm gonna keep a really close eye on Lake Reinhardt because I do want to see, how quickly. I'm 99% confident as quickly as that algae turn and start smelling, it's gonna be wiped out. So the question is, how quickly we're gonna see a significant.
It's gonna take time.
Well, then, let me ask this, because why are we even spending money on these ponds? It's for aesthetic purposes, is that safe to say?
Well,
Well, there's-
it's not only from your perspective, I'm sure it probably is aesthetics, but from our perspective is to make sure we're in compliance with the permits, which is. Includes water body, not only the structures, right? But the
Yeah.
actual water body.
Right, but that's stormwater control.
Mhm,
The only thing we hear about are aesthetics.
of course.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
They don't understand the
I
actual
get it.
functioning of the pond.
So I don't have a good answer if somebody says, all right, you sprayed, thanks, it's now brown and black and stinks. Why can't you just scoop it out?
You can, but that's an additional cost.
I know.
Well,
Right,
but wait,
explain.
hold
Yeah.
on, but the answer was given,
No,
and well, you didn't listen.
no, I did. I don't
Well-
agree with it.
Okay, well, but that, you're gonna have to. live
Okay, so that's a different issue.
You don't have to agree with it, you might have to live with it. They can scoop all this stuff out,
Yes,
Right?
yeah,
so. But this stuff underneath is still here,
that's great. And then when it comes up, we scoop that out too.
so we have a permanent scooper that's gonna come out.
Yeah.
and
No,
pour it.
it's not that.
Well, no, but
That-
look,
I don't
I
see that.
understand it, if the board, so how much, if we took this out in Lake Reinhardt
Mhm.
today, how much would it cost for you to go ahead and scoop it out? And there's a reason why I'm asking you that, because you're probably gonna have to scoop it out, what?
Probably just rough number $5,000, right? And to that point, right, that is why you don't scoop it out, because it's very labor intensive. Your maintenance price would, you'd be looking at 100% increase on your budget compared to the 50.
Right, so let's say, for example, we had to do it 3 times in Lake Reinhardt for this bloom.
Yeah.
So it's 15,000.
Sure.
Okay. So I'm ballparking, if, again, this comes down to, if the board agrees to spend 15,000 to do it right away. But there's no guarantee it's just gonna be 15, because it could be 20.
I'll take Dave's concern, I'll go a different angle. I mean, we have. To date, over the past few years, we have been attacking the effects. We haven't been attacking the underlying cause. That's been the issue is.
Right.
We've had several vendors come up, however failed they may be in their communications, and all of them have come up and said, your nitrogen is high, your phosphorus is high, you need to attack the underlying problem.
Right.
We've also recognized, we haven't even got numbers back on that. All we've done has been mystified that we know that's not gonna be a small number.
Sure,
And said, hey, we're not doing that this year because we did aerators and then we did sidewalks, and we did some other stuff. To your point. I don't disagree with you if we're just sitting here chasing our tail on watching the same blooms come up and we're chasing a bloom, we're playing whack-a-mole. Unless we're gonna spend a capital investment to fix these ponds. I'm not saying by any stretch we should go and just say the hell with it and let them go. But we're never gonna get after this if we don't spend a capital investment to get after these ponds.
no, I agree.
Yeah, well, the thing about it is that these blooms that are getting the attention that we get complaints about are the ones that are collecting on the shoreline. So it doesn't need to be premier. Why can't we just get a guy in a pool net,
Well,
go
there's,
along the shoreline and scoop it out?
and I have an answer for you for that one too.
Okay.
So if you look at this picture. This isn't along the shoreline, right? But in areas in the shoreline, staff can only go so close to go ahead and take that out. There are safety issues. So they can go ahead and scoop some of that, but they're not gonna be able to get some of this other stuff. So let's say this wasn't here, it's still too far. They can scoop some, but they're definitely not gonna be able to
Well,
scoop.
I'll
the
take some
majority.
better than nothing.
But you guys are shuffling pictures.
And it's
Not fixing the
also-
problem.
That's right.
also-
I haven't heard how we can fix the problem is what I'm getting.
But
at.
it's also a time,
It's on money for
That's what-
fossil.
that's what we-
it's a time constraint and also the staff to be able to go down there also.
What is staff now missing out on because we're sitting there having to scoop stuff off the pond?
And that's the point. They've never, I think Carrie went down this path, right, with the staff to see, have you ever done this
Yeah.
during the
Yeah.
course of
You
30
could pay
years?
for a full-time person and
Right.
pick a number $50,000 a year to do that.
Yeah.
I could take 50 grand a year, apply to phosphorus treatments and.
Well, I'm not saying not do that. I of course want to treat the core issue, however we can do that. I'm just saying, we're gonna get a condition like right now where we have some furry stuff on the shoreline. And I don't think we have a good answer if they say, well, why can't you get rid of it? Well, let's wait 3 weeks to get it to turn brown and stink.
Well,
I mean,
Well,
that's not-
wait a
why don't
minute.
we just?
Well, wait a minute, hold on, but the answer is the answer, whether it's a good answer or a bad answer, that is the factual answer. They
I
might not
think-
be happy with it, but that's
Well,
irrelevant.
but I'd say the answer that we're getting this year is different than what we've done in past years. I am interested to see in our budget as quickly as we can get that phosphorus number, to get that baked into our budget for the May meeting. So that we can make a decision, hey, if all of a sudden I'm gonna throw it out there, a 7-figure number for all the ponds in town to be able to do the right remediation.
Right.
That's now a decision in front of this board to say, hey, we know what the right answer is. Are we gonna take it or not? We've never had that option to us because we haven't asked the question.
The thing about it is that there is a easily accessible area right in our downtown where people are taking their prom pictures. And I don't understand why a guy in a net can't just take 2 hours and scoop that stuff out. I mean, it's a drop in the bucket, but at least we can show people doing something.
So,
Are you saying to specifically do it just now, just this one time for Lake Reinhardt? Is that?
Yeah,
but you're talking, wait, so you're talking just the steps.
yeah, because that's really where you're gonna get, that is our high impact area.
That's the aesthetic centerpiece of the town.
Okay, so if we get somebody to go ahead and scoop, and because you're not gonna get all of it, you're gonna get a fixed portion of it.
Because I don't think this part
No,
matters.
no, well,
As
it
much.
does if you run around, right?
Yeah, let's
It
see if
depends
people
who's,
go by.
yeah, okay, so let's just talk about the steps, okay? If we go ahead and, you know, get them to go ahead and clear out that area, right?
Mhm.
If the next day this stuff goes into the shore, are you saying we gotta keep going and scooping? I'm just asking.
To your point, it could be a matter of days before this comes right back around. How many times?
That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying,
Who knows, or maybe it's done, maybe you take it out and,
well,
Doesn't matter.
I'm just asking, if we did it once, okay, we'll scoop that. I'm just saying, look, I'm not just a one-time person. I'm looking at the whole thing. If we do it one day and it comes back 2 days later, is the expectation to go ahead and do it again? And then do it again? I'm just wondering what, because that would be to keep it clear. That is the intent.
Let's go back to our expert, okay? You're killing this stuff right now, okay?
Mhm.
It's gonna die off.
Yep.
Okay, how long before it takes to die off?
2 weeks.
Yeah, it's realistically 2 weeks.
And what's our expectations for the next bloom?
1 week.
Could be a week, could be a year. I mean, unfortunately, phosphorus, I would say probably closer to the year or
Okay.
a week or two. I mean,
Alright.
that's the underlying issue we're seeing, right?
I'm gonna
We're
say
seeing
if
a
it
lot
takes us a
happening.
week to clean it up, it's no better than waiting 2 weeks for it to die out.
Yeah, and to your point, right, a lot of the lakes that are, we did 13 lakes, we did the pond lakes, some lakes we've only treated maybe once or twice since we've been here for algae, right? Those lakes are not growing algae as quickly, and, that would be why we didn't test them for, phosphorus, right? Because we weren't having as many issues, right? We chose the lakes that were the most difficult. To that point, these lakes have been pretty consistent. Maybe some blooms are worse than others, but pretty consistently, we're spraying them every 2 weeks, which is as often as we can legally spray them. And to the point, right, Lake Reinhardt utilizing the boat out there today, this is the second time we've done that, also provides a better quality treatment because in certain areas, obviously with, people, foot traffic, the steps, for example, is a perfect example of a spot where we simply can't get our equipment down there safely, without being completely intrusive, interruptive to people, right? So doing it with the boat today, we're gonna do that more often as well. And in the meantime, we should hopefully get better results. Another comment I would make about just doing the steps area, the one thing, and you may have a perfectly good result. The one thing I've typically found is once you start doing one small area, a larger lake like that, next thing you know, somebody goes, well, why aren't you doing that area? The same way, you have the same ask down, why aren't you doing in front of the hotel, why aren't you doing it here? It's something I've seen happen often as well.
So do you think you're gonna have? What will it take for you to have the numbers in time? Angel, when do you need them in order to incorporate them into the main budget book?
Before,
Meetings this.
we have the
The
6th and then we have the 13th and then the meeting, that we would approve, so.
I mean, we really need them
As
for the
soon as
6th.
possible.
By the 6th, yeah.
You can get them by the 6th, that'd be great.
So I'm thinking by end of month,
By what?
by end of month, end of
That's
April.
good.
So,
We're good.
The end of April.
yeah.
Okay. I'm just wanted to check.
all right, but are we prohibiting our management company from doing any sort of physical removal? Because,
Can I ask who's complaining? Is it just like Reinhardt for the public, or is it people complaining behind their houses?
no, I'm only really all here about Lake Reinhardt.
That's-
And then the church when I got to that condition, but you could walk on there. But Lake Reinhardt is our commercial center. And it's got high visibility. So I think we'd be doing our community a disservice if our response is, wait 2 weeks for it to start stinking and then it'll go away. Whereas we could get a manual removal as a one-time thing.
Are they, is the stuff on the steps? Physical steps?
No, it's in the water.
It's just in the water.
Yeah, there was about a 10-foot band in front of the steps today, which has all been sprayed. You know, that was where I ended, so it should be obviously turned around. Ideally, to David's point, right, if you do decide to rake it out, I would still wait 48 to 72 hours, because a lot of times you have your first significant drop of algae. And that first 48 to 72, you then see the remainder go out over the 2 weeks, so.
That was what I remember from some of the previous, just to reiterate that. Some of the previous vendors were saying, let it sit because that would permeate with other algae that's in the lake. If you spray it and then immediately lift it, you're not letting all those chemicals, you just lifted all the chemicals out.
Yeah, and a lot of the herbicides are active for at least 24 hours too. So they could still be having an effect on that algae, reducing the amount of cells. So yeah, to that point, most herbicides are pretty much diluted and gone within 24 hours.
Okay.
So,
But we're gonna hear soon from somebody that wants to have an event on our lake. And that's part of the reason why they want to do this, because of the vista and the condition of the lake. And why we wouldn't be able to do a physical removal in order to
So,
facilitate it.
but, okay, so.
Make it as a motion.
Yeah,
make it as a motion or what's.
Move on, yeah.
So, you want to
Alright.
make the motion?
I would like to move to authorize management to do physical removal of algae along the steps of Lake Rhino.
Just one time.
Yeah, this is gonna have to be, coordinating with you guys just to see what we need to do and how to do it, but. After how long?
10-foot band, you said?
there's about a 10-foot
I
band
can
line.
tell you that's not
Okay.
good, not gonna be able to do that. 10
They-
foot, we
you
have
said
no
management,
way
yeah.
to get into the water. And we wouldn't send our guys into the water, our insurance doesn't cover that.
You wouldn't
That's
want
it.
to put them in the water either. 'Cause
No.
If they start stirring up the muck, you risk making the problem even
Yeah.
worse by just causing a.
So
Yeah.
technically, okay, so the motion would have to be Premier.
And what's your cost? Is that the $5,000 number?
It would, I'd have to, honestly. I'm
Not to
gonna
exceed
approve.
5,000?
We could come out and give it hell for, 2 days probably doing that. I'd have full crews out here doing it, but, to be honest, it's, I'm probably 2 weeks out before I have a crew available. Just to let you know, full transparency on that.
And when's the event we're talking about?
June, I think. You want June? Give kids one?
Is this the kids' world?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, June.
Yeah, and the other thing too is one of the things for an event like that is with good communication, let's plan a treatment. 14 to 21 days prior to that event, to make sure we have a really good treatment done right before the event.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Ready, we can definitely kind of coordinate that to make sure if that event is going to occur, that we try and have that late without any removal, and if that's possible.
Right, so part of your quote for the remediation program for all the ponds. Can you put in dyeing that pond for that event?
Sure.
And just as a reminder, we had approved last year, the year before, for management in between meetings, particularly in the hot season. It came about from the one right across from the Catholic Church. Hey, if in between meetings, something just explodes, I thought we'd approved up to 2,500. That management could just go at their discretion and say, hey, we're gonna do a manual pull of stuff.
Right.
I want to say it was up to 2,500, but you may want to check that. That was something we put on the books for you guys to do.
Yeah, and not wait.
If not, I'll put it on again, just to say, hey,
Yeah, I
I'll,
would say go ahead.
I'll even say it again up
Do
to
it.
5,000, just that way you can address the not to exceed. But at least that way it's on the books for management to have discretion in conjunction with the chairman. If, hey, something explodes.
Right.
Let's make sure they've got the authority that they don't have to wait for another meeting. I'd absolutely make that motion now.
Do we have a motion or?
Yeah.
that?
Dave, well, where, does Dave have a motion out there? Did you-
Well, he didn't complete it
didn't
because,
finish.
They rejected that motion.
right, so you need to have a new motion.
Yeah, so
We didn't agree with it.
Motion to allow staff
Up to $5,000. And this isn't just for Reinhardt.
not
this is
to
for
exceed
anyone.
$5,000 to have treatments of any problem
now
ponds.
treatment, this is
No.
the physical.
That'd be manual removal.
Oh,
That's what it was. Yeah, and we did have that,
Yeah,
but it was 2,500.
and I would put this as a standing for any pond.
Is this a recurring? Can they do it 10 times in a month? I don't.
That's,
that's a lot.
I think, so I think the issue,
You need a second and then y'all can
Yes,
discuss it.
I'll make the motion.
I said,
Okay.
All right, now you.
Not getting the discussion.
So the issue, Shell, was across the Catholic Church, this thing had a super bloom.
I understand.
This thing was really, really bad, and that's what it came off at one point. You know, the stuff was dead, it was taking a long time to pull in and to go ahead and clean that up. This one is bad, but it's one of these things where is the 5,000 just for the entry area or the whole lake?
It's essentially a day rate, so that's 2 days worth of, whatever we can do.
Whatever you get into it.
Yeah.
You know,
Make them one day.
It's just darn it with all.
so, I mean, that's the thing, do we know, and I guess it's the next question, do we know how many, my celebration app tickets do we have for this?
That's what?
My celebration app, how many people have complained about the Reinhardt?
Very few.
I have personally seen any.
Yeah.
Other than what
So
they
you're saying
said.
just,
Yeah, it's very few.
okay,
I don't know. I don't
All
see-
right, but without any other distinguishing 5 grand
I-
open blanket.
I would recommend you need to put some criteria on that because motion to allow staff not to exceed 5,000 to have manual remover for ponds. I mean, is that 5,000 a day, like
A week, a month. a year.
15 times?
I almost would say it's a one-time charge until the board discusses
Until the
the
next
next
board
meeting.
meeting.
So once a month is what you're saying?
Yes.
If needed.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll make that amendment.
okay, once a month.
That way the board has control of not going over that and discussing what the
Correct.
remediation really.
You chairman to okay it?
What's that?
You need chairman.
Yeah, he
to
said,
okay it?
I'm sorry, with
Yeah,
In conjunction. with
district
chairman.
manager and chair.
Now, does this include the treatment 21 days prior? For this?
This
for the
is,
event?
this month is just on a manual removal,
Okay,
if for whatever reason something's gotten out of control.
In general,
And to Jack, to your point, right, the treatment 21 days prior to the event, that'll just be included under the maintenance.
Okay,
So I'll end up with the language that just. Okay. Dave, you got a second.
Second, the amendment,
There you go.
all right.
no further discussion.
Any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
yeah,
3-2.
3-2.
Yes.
Jack and Shell.
Check and show.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, last question, will the phosphorus number you're gonna bring for the May meeting, is that just for Lake Reinhardt or for how many lakes?
It's gonna be for all, I'm gonna individualize it for all 13 lakes we tested, right? Some of them, well, let me walk that back a little bit.
Yeah.
I haven't thoroughly looked at these numbers yet, so some lakes I might not even make a recommendation to do phosphorus mitigation based on what we're seeing, so. Up to 13, you'll have individualized price per lake, so you can pick and choose which ones you want to take action on.
And are you confident based on what you've observed and tested and all that so far that outside of those 13? We don't have a significant issue that we need to consider a phosphorus treatment? I don't want to come back on next budget cycle and say, aha, we spent $1 million on phosphorus, now we're doing another 2 million because we tested the next.
I would say you
26.
likely have phosphorus in probably almost every single lake out here, right? These are the 13 worst, right? And are we seeing algae in other lakes? Yes. These are just simply the ones I chose because they're the ones that are getting hit every 2 weeks. I guess it's up to the board's discretion of, what do you consider it from an aesthetic perspective? How often of a bloom, now some blooms are, 2-foot band around the edge of the lake and we treat it and it goes away.
Right.
What's an acceptable level, right? If that's an acceptable level for you guys, let's not touch it.
Well, and like,
It's probably more economic to have him test the rest of the lakes. He's only testing what's per contract. There's 10 tests built into the contract. He added a few.
what would it take to test every pond we have? Time and money.
Just rough number off the top of my head, you're about, if we just limit it to phosphorus only, and based on not seeing nitrogen in the sample set of 13, you're probably about $250 a lake.
So. I don't remember how many lakes we got.
I'd have to look at the list.
1,000 lakes.
Yeah.
It just feels like that.
He's already tested 13,
So
Yeah.
40 more.
I will tell you, I don't personally have a problem when I see the ban.
Right.
And then it receipts.
Right.
Because I know number one, it's being treated, that's an acceptable type of thing.
Right.
It's when it's like, oh my God, I mean, it's just starting.
My concern on the 13 is some of those 13 may be ponds that are back behind the middle of nowhere where nobody really cares, but it just happens to be one of the 13 that's bad. As opposed to,
No,
hey,
I
what
get
about
it.
the one across from the Catholic Church that just seems to bloom every, you know what I mean?
So we would need a proposal for the other, like, just to see what that cost looks like and everything else laid out.
So when you say a proposal, you're talking a proposal for the water quality testing to do the rest of the lakes, or you just?
Yes.
I would like to do
Yes.
that,
Yes.
Yeah,
we can do
so
that.
we can do that and have that at another meeting.
Is there a reuse water testing too coming in?
Oh,
We can do that front.
Yeah, if you show me a couple spots where we can grab reuse water, absolutely.
Right at the pump station up front.
I would add that in there, yeah, that's definitely.
Are there things when you testing the reuse water, are there things we can do to, can you filter it through the reuse waters? What would testing? it
No, but the
do us?
insure's gonna tell us we might be wasting our money on testing everything else. The irrigation water is way high.
It'll give you to his point, right, that stuff's going on your lawns, goes downhill in your pond. So-
Literally is at a rapid rate.
Yeah, right, so it's gonna make it where maybe you don't get that 10 years worth of benefits from the phosphorus mitigation, you might get 3. Right, or, ideally, we're gonna do this reset rate and subsequent treatments. Will be, instead of treating like Reinhardt, when you have 333 parts, we treat it like it's at 150 parts, right? So it's a much smaller hit each time, right? Be more proactive from a maintenance perspective. It's hard to say how long the results are gonna be. I've got one lake at a property I've done for the last 12 years, and we haven't sprayed out in about 10 years. And right now we get one bloom a year. So that was, and that lake was something that it looked like Rhino consistently, right? So substantially, really good result. Was a different product, but it's essentially the same active ingredient.
Yes.
That one. So yeah, I can get, so from what I'm gathering, we want a quote for the phosphorus for the 13 lakes that we tested. We want water quality testing for just phosphorus for the remaining lakes, and then one for the reuse.
Yes,
Okay. Anything else, Mayor?
by the end of the month, right?
Yes, I think that's enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in every meeting too, that's helpful.
It does.
It's helpful for me as well.
Wait,
Thank
you want to share with them why you might not be coming to every meeting in the future?
Wow, you had to do that.
So I eventually will be maybe going to digital, and the only reason for that is my wife and I are expecting our first child in September. So as we get closer, I'm still gonna be present, but I'll be attending via Zoom, at least for a few months, as we go.
Perfectly acceptable.
Congratulations.
Do we need to vote on that or we're
No,
okay?
no.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you. Okay, I don't think we have any other vendors here on the line. I think so. Legal counsel.
Yeah, Russ,
You
Well,
got
the
anything?
report's in there. If you have any questions, he went over the main stuff, I believe.
Any questions?
I had a question for Field. We had about a year ago talked about, one or two of the traffic signs we were gonna evaluate every 90 days and do them based on
The
data
radar
complaints.
The radar signs?
Yeah, the
Okay.
radar sign, yeah. I noticed a couple of them that were supposed to be the mobile ones haven't moved in probably 9 months, so are we still reassessing locations to locate the areas?
Anybody got an idea where they want them, we'll move them.
I don't think we need to move them. Where we've got them,
Is where
it's ridiculous traffic right now. We still need to address with the county, what's going on. Okay, they've not provided us anything good yet. We'll talk about the county.
Yeah.
Your sign jack's gonna have to get fixed.
Needs fixing, yes.
Already notified them.
Thank you.
Okay, regular stuff we've done this month, a couple agreements, we finally have the Lexington agreement, I think, done, they've just been sending comments sporadically, and I think we got the last one this
Okay.
weekend, so hopefully that's done. I had a meeting with Mark, with the FDOT lawyers, they had a meeting with all the CDDs along I-4. They're down to, looks like 2 parcels, and in celebration, they confirmed the void of those other 5. There's about, 4 parcels where we could have a subordinate interest, which if it's a drainage interest or something substantial where we could have damages, we could receive payment. If it's just a bond lien or something, then we just need to waive it. We asked them to prepare a map so we can show you exactly where they are. This is part of their new I-4 mobility, moving forward I-4. So they're rushing to do this, which is why they took away those center ponds. They're doing a quick fix. So they're gonna be coming forward with these one by one as they get appraisals in. So we'll try to get a map and an explanation of which parcels they are, so.
What does that mean if they came in just to the pond?
Excuse me?
When
Oh,
you said that-
they look through title to see who owns and who may have an interest.
Mhm.
So if we have a drainage easement, we may need some additional storage, additional drainage somewhere else, so they could pay us for it. If we have a notice of a bond issue or a notice of establishing the CDD, there's really no compensable interest there. That's just a notice of where it's located. So once they get to each parcel, even if we don't own it, if we're listed anywhere in the title, they have to come back to us and we have to say whether it's something we waive, or, we think we have damages and need some help with re-engineering. So we, as I say, we asked them to give us some maps and some specifics in the parcels and timing. Most likely, it's going to be their celebration. It's gonna be a couple months, but again, they're going to, as soon as they get an appraisal, they're gonna come back and ask for an acceptance of the offer. They might also be filing suits very quickly so they can get things moving. The way the eminent domain law works is they can file suit and get the taking, basically get the property, and then the suit continues for your money down the road. So they may end up just with some sort of mass filings to get everybody. to
That's
get their
convenient for
property.
them.
Yeah, the law was worked.
I'm
out.
just.
We did
But anyway, I
5
mean,
years, no.
yeah, they were trying to do it, that they would work with everybody, but apparently they have a ton of parcels. It was like interesting. But anyway, that's where we are on that. So nothing great. It's 2 small parcels in Island Village. And then the rest of the subordinations. Other than that, you had asked me at the last meeting to follow up on those Carlisle parking lots. And basically, there's 2 lots. The reason we finally got through title, there were 2 lots, a lot and a half a lot, 2 lots and then a half a lot. And then the half a lot became part of the Stetson lot. And the other half and the property is all part of the Carlisle lot, but then once the condo went, the platted lots basically went away. So that was why the title took forever to get. But the bottom line is we have parking easements and Carlisle is responsible for maintaining, and the easements have in them actual standards of maintenance that they have to comply with. If they don't, we can get it with 10 or 12% interest if we do it. So
let me clarify this. So you're saying that they have to maintain the lot
yes,
and it has to be public access?
it has to be for our parking, yes.
And when you say maintain, they're already doing the regular cutting and blowing of leaves and stuff like that, but even where they have to do a resurfacing of the lot.
Yeah, they have to
Yes,
do all
that sounds
maintenance, and
wonderful.
yeah, and I can send you all copies of the actual exhibits that go through. They have fertilized, pest control, water, mulch, prune trees. pH adjustments, trimming, mowing, edging. Irrigation systems, potato washing, field removal.
So we don't have any responsibility other than the fact we've got an easement for public access,
Not at all.
And it can't be changed.
not without the county.
No, it doesn't count.
It would really be between us because the county is not a party to it, but we would have to argue that because the condo is built over this part of the condo.
No, I understand. that. I'm just,
Because of the way
some
the-
information that we were told was not accurate compared to that.
Yes. And that's why it took so long, was to get through title, because the title company couldn't find the parcels.
Okay.
But anyway, those 2 parking easements are the parking easements and they require them to maintain.
And does it speak of parking controls? Are they prohibited from controlling parking or limiting it? Are they allowed? Or is it silent?
It
Public
doesn't say
parking.
anything about that.
I think public parking is public parking.
Yeah.
So can you,
Oh, wait,
yeah,
Yeah, we have non-exclusive easement for purposes of public parking without charge.
Oh, without charge?
We have 99 spaces on the one and I think. something on the other.
Okay.
They're pretty, they're written very clearly.
so. How do we close the loop?
yeah, I was just trying to think.
I wanna like officially finally close the loop, because apparently this comes up a
Every couple
lot
of years.
with that.
I would
Another
suggest
association.
if Jan can drop, I mean, if it wants to go as formal as a memorandum of understanding, I mean, it's already documented, so I don't know what else we need to do there, but a summary for them to say, hey, guys, we've done this analysis, and in layman's terms, here's what we found. is-
Okay. A memo
I think
to
that'd
you
be
all, we
useful,
can give
just-
to them
yeah.
or something to them.
I think it's something that maybe
Yeah, I think-
Angel could send to them. I'm just kind of.
Yeah.
Close the
That
loop, but
makes
we're not
sense, 'cause it-
revisiting this and that's
Yeah,
it.
no, it's been coming up for months, and
Yeah.
I really wanted to get the title to see exactly where all our parking is, what we own and what the restrictions.
And from the
are.
last email I got from her, I don't think there was any expectation that anything was changing, but I would still like to document it, so when it comes up 5 years from now, they got a new board, we got a new board. Have something in writing that.
No, that's great. I would like to, now that I've gone through it all and sorted out everything.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be long at all.
Is this Carlisle West / Stetson?
Carlisle. I would go with Carlisle, because that's in, when we get issues on that, it's usually somebody that's purchasing, so it's.
So we don't do any maintenance work now on the asphalt. Potholes.
No,
On that,
according to the thing,
on
They're
that,
responsible for
yeah,
it.
on that parking lot,
Just one.
near
parking lot?
Columbia.
One
We still
parking
have
lot?
to maintain our parking lot.
Yeah, because we own that whole.
Right, we own that
We
one. It's the small
So
one.
the Stetson lot we own, we
We
have
own
to
that-
maintain, we
that
need to
portion of it,
do
yes.
everything from cutting grass to repaving
We,
and all
we
that.
own it, we have a deed, it's ours.
Okay, and this is just the north one. no
Right.
record.
These are the Carlisle
Yeah.
ones, they're now part of their contract.
Okay.
Let's see, other things. A bunch of insurance cases, just so you all know, there are a large number of slip and fall cases, and today I got 3 pleadings on various cases. So we are getting a large number of them.
Can you
Hopefully
generally say, are these related to sidewalks, boardwalks?
sidewalks.
Sidewalks.
They're all sidewalks. One today, it
Mhm.
looks like it was actually a Duke Energy fault. So we're trying to push that onto Duke Energy.
There's been no boardwalk ones that I,
No, not at all.
it's all been sidewalk.
All sidewalks.
Nothing else.
Jan, what's the location of these?
I can send those to you.
I mean,
Yeah, that
is
it-
it down main village or,
Mostly in the main building.
Yeah.
and mostly tourists?
Combination.
Okay.
Yeah,
No, it doesn't, but I'm just saying, our focus next year is main village.
Yes, yes, that's as.
Yeah, those are the ones.
Most of them
And
are.
a number of them really do not seem egregious. Just in general,
Yeah,
you know, when you look at the picture, it's not like, wow, they fell.
it's like
Yeah, it's
something like this. and
Well-
they're
Yeah, some of them are going
crazy.
to be that they really do need ADA standard.
And
You know,
I
don't
I was
know
gonna say, as an
that
overall barometer statement, are we generally coming out okay on these at the end, or?
They're all kind of sitting, they're all different.
There's been some
Some
hefty
settlement-
payouts.
Yeah, there's been a couple of big ones.
And there's a few that are just med pay.
Set a reserve or something, so we'd have some clue to how big the exposure.
I'm trying to quantify this as far as what we should expect the insurance to go.
Well, I already have your insurance number. I can tell you that right now.
Okay, and that's
Oh,
predicated
do
on all
we
the.
need that at the workshop though?
Yeah, well, I don't need it now, I just wanna make sure there's enough
Yeah, it's
data.
like 146,000 and change.
And how much our deductible is, so we know.
50.
Yeah, so when we're getting the little settlements, we end up paying for them, so we may wanna
Yeah.
put a little bit of a reserve.
And we typically, just so you know, in your reserve account, previously, Gary already, I think it was what, 85,000 a year, Brenda? Out of that couple $1 million was
Yeah.
earmarked for
For insurance.
self-insurance.
Yeah,
Oh.
70,000, 100,000, something like that, yes, I
Yeah.
can.
So we can still earmark that much that's already in there for these, and a few of them have been
Which
med
makes sense.
pay, which is pay out there
Mm.
like $5,000 to cover,
Medical expenses.
the ER trip or something like that, so.
Yeah, we got one recently, they were negotiating. I had a friend that fell 2 years ago and this is how much they got, and I would like this much based on what you paid down. Okay,
Yeah, some of the cases are very simple. Some are crazy. Yeah. You see where they, and none of them move quickly, they're all very slow. The only other thing, just the work in the pro, thing that'll come up later on.
Okay.
And that's about it this month.
Dan, I asked you about the municipal overlay, whether we had the ability to preclude commercial truck parking in our. And so,
I did not have that on my list, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Sheriff's Department, e-bikes.
They are, the county is working on an ordinance, but as of 3 weeks ago, they had nothing they would reveal to the public.
In ordinance, do you know, intending to do what, or it's still?
They,
double secret?
that's still.
Yeah,
double
yeah,
secret.
yeah.
They are studying what they wanna do. And the information you sent as we were driving here, I'm not sure that provision that was referred to as like 316-2068, that's for scooters only, that isn't the e-bike section. So I'm not sure what they were refining, again, I just read it on.
St. Cloud just passed something for their, not their sidewalks, but their trailways and all that, so I asked them. Yeah, I asked them, so the trailways one was clear, but then I asked them the question, okay, so what are you doing about sidewalks? Are you still allowing them on sidewalks? And their response was, no, we consider sidewalks already prohibited under.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think that's just a scooter provision, that wasn't the electric bike section.
Okay, so still a gray area as far
Jack
as.
and I don't agree on that one, I think they're prohibited, but Jack does.
Does Jack have a
which is-
JD?
Well, the problem is you ask council for the different cities and counties and they all have different.
Look, I would like to have it prohibited, but I don't see it written that way.
And I'll follow up with the sheriff again, because he had promised he would do that handout, but it was only 3 weeks, so I didn't want to
Yeah.
harass him.
Yeah, he doesn't deliver until 4 weeks, 5 weeks.
Well,
okay.
Usually 5.
But I guess my question too is independent of whatever the county may or may not be doing of an ordinance.
Mhm.
We still haven't heard an answer to the question. Does the sheriff's department know what they can already enforce based on what's on the books today?
I don't think so.
I think it's no.
No, but the sheriff's council he liked the Orange County version, and I got the sense he was leaning towards that as a handout.
They usually
He
do
said he
though.
didn't see anything that he disagreed with, so that made me feel better that if we could put that out, that would always give us something to say, hey, the sheriffs will enforce the law, and that one
Okay,
was pretty well written, and I agree with it.
and I assume he's somewhere in the circle of trust of whatever secret conversations going on with the county
No, the
attorney.
county and the sheriff council don't talk much. I mean, that's just my experience, but I'll tag both of them tomorrow and see if I can find them and find out where they are.
Would it be useful if you don't get anything, if maybe Angel sent something to the county saying, hey, to the county,
Get the managers.
the county manager saying, hey, I understand you're working on something, the sheriff's department's also working on this, we're bringing up, we really need you two guys, I can't force them into a room, but if we could hit Mr. Fisher and just say, hey, can you get you guys to play nice together,
Okay.
that might be helpful.
Okay, I'll write an email for you to read them. And Jack, could you go back over, you want to prohibit commercial parking on the streets?
Commercial truck parking, yes.
Isn't that in the CCNRs that you cannot do that?
No, I think we have the ability.
Oh, that's right, the HOA one changed that. Okay. I'll get one.
That anatomy document, the release, did that just go away?
Yes, based on our recommendation and your recommendation, that went away. I know when we get to it at some point, there's been some good work with anatomy coordinating, getting everything finished up.
Yeah, I saw that, Russ, it's
Yeah.
almost done on the,
So, yeah, I'm.
on the one side.
Yeah, they're done on the one side.
They have to
Yeah.
close the road. Oh, they can get to it.
Yeah, Carrie and Mark have met with Chuck Bell with anatomy, and it sounds like things are progressing really well, so I'm trying to stay out of it as much as I can.
Yeah.
We have to clear a little landscape behind there so they can have access to it.
On the backside of it.
Anything else, Jim?
That's it.
Okay.
I got some for Dan, just two quick things. One, was there an agreement for the Lake Reinhardt fountain that needed to be processed or
Yeah,
where?
we got a
Yes.
copy of the purchase order, I think Thursday or Friday, so we're working on a bill
Yeah.
of sale to get it for her to sell it to us officially.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's we're. that was-
Installation was third week of May, I think.
Mhm.
Okay, so before June.
And they want to light
Fountain
it,
in The lake.
they want to light it May, I think she's still working on the time, but she'd like all of staff and the board there when they
What
flip
was
the
the date?
switch.
25th, was it?
Yeah.
Something like that. I'll send the
Thank you.
email out to the board.
Can we get votes?
May 25th is Sunday.
Yes, we'll ask Premier if we can borrow their
Yeah,
lakes.
only.
I mean, their boats.
You can clean some, it's still on the way, yeah.
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 Put that over give him the rake. All right.
Last question I had though for Jan was, did we finish up the contract piece that we voted on with?
It's
Mark's?
on.
Oh, I'm sorry,
It's on
Which,
I'm seeing
which contract is?
the
the renewal.
renewal,
of their
What were you-
multi-year renewal.
We,
Escalation.
It's still on my list. Mark, did. So send me what you sent them, I put my notes on what I need to do with it.
I think we all agreed.
Yeah,
don't we?
everybody
I just
agreed
wanted
to
to-
it. I put it on the
Yeah.
list
Yeah.
To ask if anyone needed me to work on it. I hadn't heard anything, so I figured it was.
Do you want to share your snacks or are you just gonna?
Oh, I mean, I can't.
I know, they're all over there.
Well, I figure we're an hour in now, you might want to break them open.
Yeah.
All right.
Uh,
Okay.
I got one more thing, it's under Jan's, but
Okay.
it's part of the master planning. When I went to impact to call themselves now on Wednesday, there was a comment by their chair that said they approached the CDD. Because what we're looking at is their facilities, their maintenance facility, that's having some issues. And the report, without any context, fairly vague, was that they approached the CDD about joint use of this facility. And it didn't, yeah, it didn't go anywhere.
I don't know who I responded. I don't know who they.
Yeah.
It wasn't me and it wasn't Terry or staff.
You're going, what?
So I can answer that. I can answer that. So, Joe Zolik asked me, he said, just want to throw this out there, if you keep it in your head, see its possibility of doing the CC building as a joint living facility. I said, I don't know. I said, I mean, because we're packed, I mean,
Yeah.
in terms of parking, everything, we're pretty packed. He goes, that's okay, just want you to keep you an open mind with it. I said, okay, that was it. Okay, so I never said no, I never said yes, or nothing. I said, just keep it in mind. Okay, I'll keep it in mind.
Yeah, no one's
That was
asked
it.
staff, because obviously, just so you all know, even if they did come to staff and say, hey, we'd love to put our maintenance at Yale's building, we don't have any authority. That would be something we would bring to the board. We would give our opinion on it, and the opinion is there's no room here.
We talked about it as a hypothetical, a year
That
and a
would
half
be
ago, a workshop with them. If we did other things, but that was not by itself.
Yeah, even the canal guys contacted me before, can we stage our equipment behind your building? I'm like, no, there's not enough room, no way.
All right, do we need some sort of policy in place that says for our government use only, so that we can nip this in the bud, or?
We already have it, I think.
No, we don't. There
We-
is no policy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a government building, I think.
Yeah.
Well, we had talked,
Because I know somebody had asked for this room once and the board decided that, no, this is used
but
for
I,
management.
Brenda, didn't we have a standing policy already of talking about building
I think
room rentals that we didn't do it?
It may have come up.
Back in the beginning, when the facility was first constructed, there was conversation about, oh, do we want to rent the room out to other people? And the conversation ensued, we don't have staff to monitor and let them in. How do we get them in? And it really never went anywhere.
I mean, you can put in a policy, but I mean, there's no need to.
Yeah, if we
but-
charge a rent, we have to do a public hearing. and
Mhm.
adopt the
Yeah.
rule for it.
You can put up a sign that says staff use only, and it will stop anybody from using the room. I have that experience from Reedy Creek, where the public comes in and says government building, we can come in.
Any
We had
other
to put
questions?
staff use only on almost every door.
So any other questions for Jan? Engineering report.
Yeah, so you got the monthly report, a couple things to highlight is our. Survey department has completed the infield surveying of all the wooded blue areas of ponds, with the exception of the Bartlett pond. So I'm just waiting to get that drafted so we can take a look at it, and determine what colors we need to assign to those various areas. So hopefully we'll be getting that in the next couple of weeks. I did receive a pamphlet that I'll send to Angel, and she can maybe distribute to the board from a company called Western Green. They do a lot of erosion controls, on slope rehabilitation type work. Got a lot of pretty pictures in there. Just good information to have. They've taken a look at the report that I've generated, and made some recommendations on what they think would be good, and it's pretty much in line with what my report had kind of indicated. You have some different levels
So
of.
based on your number though, what was originally read, equating $700,000 ish.
Mhm.
Did blue things turn to red? Is that 700,000 now?
Well, they may, don't have that, the field works done, but I haven't seen it drafted to be able to go in there and start
Okay.
measuring.
And I can tell you, if anything on that list turned to red from the time I looked at it, when you first sent it over, that is not in the 700,000.
Right, that's my point.
Mhm.
Okay.
Um,
So to that point though, will we be able to get that in time for the May 6th budget meeting?
maybe push.
Okay, anything else?
Been doing a lot of punch walks with Madame's folks, trying to get phase 1A and 1B turned over. They're down to just a handful of things. Some missing chairs, a couple stop bars and one crosswalk, so not a lot there. And then we've done some research on primarily the golf course ponds and a couple other ponds, the one about 417. Reviewed permits to see who was listed as the owner operator. Reviewed the plats with the same information, and then any easements that were shown on the plats or any easements that we happen to have in our files. That don't require additional title work to drum up. We kind of put that into a spreadsheet. I shared that with Jan. I don't think she's had a chance to really look at it too closely. Just so we can kind of get the information back to you to see what the deal with those ponds. My initial findings on the majority of the golf course ponds is that they are CDDs. There's easements over. The older ones are the ones in the original village, kind of behind the clubhouse. Those ones there seem to be missing a few easements, so thought work may be needed on those. See if there's any easements there. But
And then one by the 417 that Crowa owns for some reason.
didn't find anything, any easements to the CDD on that one. Now, that doesn't mean that one doesn't exist, but thought work would have to be pulled on that one as well.
It's covered by our permit.
It is, I believe it's TCC.
They still have permit.
What is that?
That
What's
means
the
we don't have
implication?
any responsibility for it.
Yeah, we
Right.
need to pull that off Premier's scope with that.
I'll double check that, but I believe it.
Okay, thank you.
You're
I
right,
saw
right
it,
now.
but I did not.
Windows.
So,
Okay,
yeah, I'll go
Let's
through-
turn to Crow and break this down in simple words. So the pond right at the corner of 417 and Celebration Avenue. The one that's adjacent to lot F or E2 or whatever, the one that's behind the soccer field and all that, there's a big one, right, at the highway off ramp.
Yeah.
That's yours. We've been treating it for
Ever.
Day
And-
one.
We need to, before we just stop, we
Yeah.
need to.
I don't
let
want
them
to,
Yeah.
know.
I want-
To find
Yeah.
out who's got the permit to make.
Right,
legally, would we be able to? I realize we can't treat something that's not ours. Can we,
well.
in the sake of efficiency, can we do it and have them reimburse us? Can we come up with a number?
Let's see who's permitted is first.
Yeah.
Because even if it's not ours, if we have the permit, we have.
We have to treat it.
Okay,
So it could be ours. anyway.
Which
I don't wanna
may
just
be
leave it
why
unattended.
we've been treating it all this time.
Yeah.
Well, Russ said from day one we looked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's probably why.
the assumption is most of the permits should be.
on the Island Village, are my expectations too high of phase one and phase two of how long this is taking to get through punch list and it would run like 2+ years? Is that just how it's gonna be for phases 2 through 4? Are there things we're learning that it's better?
I think they've learned, and they've had some different people working out there, and they seem pretty committed to making it a lot smoother the next go around.
I mean, even from our side, are there things in our punch list or whatever? I don't know, I'm not trying to adjudicate all of them, but is this just gonna be a 2-year cycle for each one of these phases?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. And I think some of that, and I want to make sure I get it on record, is because of Russ and Mark.
Hmm.
They've developed a pretty good relationship with Matt and me.
Mhm.
I've done punch walks with them and they're just like. And Mark is right. Different personnel on their side of the table.
Mhm.
They seem to be much more agreeable, easier to work with, so.
No, that's
And also,
great.
we deal with Chuck Bell on other CDDs and we don't have any problems. I mean, nothing is that long. So I think that's probably what would help speed things up.
Okay, anything else, Mark? All right, master planning updates. So we did talk about. Obviously, it looks like we have to wait till May, grow. We wait and see. And then your meeting, impact, yeah.
Impact, right?
Do you have anything else to discuss on that?
Is this something we need to leave on the agenda or is it done and we can
Well-
remove it? Or do we know? Not yet?
We don't know yet.
Okay.
I'd leave it on just until we figure out. What that's gonna be.
All right, so, and you'll be at the meetings whenever this is on the agenda.
I'll be at the Wednesday meeting, the regular monthly Crow meetings, but if they're not addressing it this month, then. I got nothing to say for it.
All right, Representative Long. Sorry, we're now,
It's not a crow activity. You don't have this level of crow activity.
It's the same topic.
trial by fire.
Oh, and your representative was last term.
So
Keep going.
I did not pick up of any outstanding issues or ask for the CDD at the last Wednesday's impact meeting. If you can confirm that, that'd be great.
Okay.
Number one, but most importantly is the ask to reiterate is we're asking for a joint meeting. And you did get what the topic, it's a pretty short agenda, which is 2 items. Yeah, 2 items. The partial report that we have. And then asking if there's a spirit of cooperation to continue it going forward.
We're asking that to be facilitated by a
The site would be in attendance.
not facilitated, but in attendance.
We'd still have to pay him anyway.
So.
I mean, they'll be running the first section as far as the presentation, the second one will be,
Clarifying,
Right.
second one will be an open case bench.
so
Yeah.
somewhat neutral arbitrary.
But let's be clear, which is the result of this master plan would be a lot of new improvements in facilities that would be pictured and placed in certain areas of town. In order to do these new developments in a timely manner, any sane community would use municipal bonding to do it. Not to say that Croa can't do it on their own. It would either take decades or it would take a very large loan with a very usurious interest rate. So the question for Croa is, if you want to build anything new, you want to work with us or not? And that's the implication if they don't.
Understood.
Okay.
Anything else?
No.
All right. Move on to liaisons. Any Crow update? I guess. We're gonna get to the
The report.
Audit?
Well
played, Shell.
I allotted 30 minutes for your presentation. Everybody. All right.
I will, quickly.
The only other one I did mention that we do need to bring up to, or I think we need to bring up to Crow is the resolution we had passed about a year ago or so on anybody who's going to drive on CDD sidewalks as far as doing like repairs and cranes and things like that. We didn't really advertise that. Obviously, it was made public, but there's a reality we need to push it out. I think there will be use in pushing that with Croa, both for Croa's own edification for their properties where they're doing it, but also them helping to get the message out to the community. So I'll, in the next month or so, once we get this other one of tonight's topic, that'll be one to talk about as well. Croa also. There it is. I have not been to a meeting yet. We've had one yet.
Any other liaison reports? No.
Well, I could talk about the sheriff's department, if you'd like to talk about that.
Yes.
Yes, I think we
All right, so
like that.
Tony's already alluded to sending out an RFP for sheriff's, either details or a single unit person. I'm strongly in favor of doing a single person. And we looked at the previous contract where we had the ability to interview the deputies that were coming in and make, not necessarily choose, but to say, hey, this is one we like, and the sheriff can make a decision. And the reason I'm looking at that is because I've got one deputy that I looked at in all these traffic reports that he's been in here 10 times now, and every time it's the same report, 5 written violations. Okay, he never gets a citation, he never does anything else but 5 written warnings. And I've got a lot of deputies that don't do anything at all. I got some that do an awful lot, but I'm finding most of the ones that do an awful lot are outside the residential area on Celebration Boulevard. That's where
Celebration Place.
well, Celebration Place.
Because I see that, I always see them there.
Into campus on Celebration Boulevard. That's where they're getting all the traffic and all the tickets. And my issue is, if we have this much problems, which we do, because we do have the speed signs over there saying 90 miles an hour, some people are doing. Then maybe the sheriff needs to put a little bit more presence here with his own deputy and not us having to pay for that deputy to do the work. I would rather see our deputies do the residential stuff. So
my only question is with the budget in mind. So you guys have already sent out the RFPs to the different agencies and we're waiting. for-
Are there
it's
RFPs?
really an RFP.
No.
You don't do RFPs for,
Well, I
It's just
thought-
this scope.
Model and scope.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's all it is. And get their pricing.
When do we expect, will we have the pricing back in time to figure it into the budget?
Before you approve it at your May meeting, yes. I don't know that I'll have it back by budget.
By the
Sixth,
Okay,
I'm hoping.
I'm just trying to figure out if there's a wedge we need to put in the number. In anticipation, I know, because 4 or 5 years ago, we were paying about $100,000 a year for Jerry Wyland.
Yeah, we
I don't
have,
expect it's gonna be $100,000.
Jack did the
Well, in
escalation,
2017, we paid him $94,000.
right?
And there's a 4% escalation
every
That's
year.
supposed to apply every
Well,
year, and right now it'd be like 124,000.
Well, we've
Yeah.
also seen the escalations on the hourly rates for details have not gone up 4% a year.
I understand, but if,
4% a year.
what I looked at was the hourly rate for the detail is $74 an hour. And based on using a single deputy, it would have been $64 an hour.
Right.
So it's, we lose a lot by doing these the details, and we don't have any guarantee on what we're getting.
Mhm.
By the way, I think we had, some of the things that troubled me is 2 days, we had 3 deputies in here on shifts. A lot of times we don't have any deputies at all on shifts.
Right.
Or we'll get a duplication of one guy will be working from 9 till 3, another person will be working from 11 to.
Jack, I've been saying for 2 or 3 years, I'd like to explore going back to
So-
the thing, so I'm sold on that, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to figure out, is there a wedge number that we need to put in coming up in the budget in case we don't get those numbers back in time, it's not gonna be the $94,000 number.
Oh, no,
we
I'm,
paid 6 years ago.
no, I agree with you.
Yeah.
We'll just have to wait and see what they come in.
Okay.
Yeah, and Angel went to 4 different agencies, so we'll see.
I'm less concerned with the number and more concerned with how much control that we have. I mean,
Well, that's part of the thing is we have to be able to tell them, these are our areas of concern, you need to look in this area at certain times. And some of their scheduling is crazy. Okay, to go downtown and do a walking patrol from 9 o'clock at night to 1 o'clock in the morning is stupid. Okay, it ought to be from 6:30 or 7 o'clock until 11.
I would like to be going into this exercise realizing we're not gonna have this finalized by the time we execute our next year's budget. But I would like to treat this like we treated landscaping, where we're actually doing interviews with leadership from the different agencies that are willing to respond, because to the point. I'd be willing to spend 20-30% more if I had an agency where I knew that the leadership from that agency was gonna get us what we're looking for.
I want to see our county give us what we do first off. That's our
I don't
problem.
disagree.
Well, but I also think we've done that trial, and I think we have the answer.
We wouldn't be having this conversation. if it worked out well.
I mean, it's just.
Yeah,
Prove is.
Well, I'm just saying that particular road, for example, it needs the focus of the sheriff, a full-time focus, and not us putting deputies out there and spending half our deputies' patrol time out there on that road, which doesn't help the residents at all.
I mean, and there will be 100 considerations that all of us come with points like that.
Yeah.
But I think we're only gonna be able to effectively convey that and interview that if we get the agencies in here and be able to have that conversation.
Well, and that's part of the thing is us having the ability to interview the different deputies that are coming in too.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Done.
Any other liaison reports? John? Okay. Business matters, can we move D to A? That's the application from Give Kids the World for use of Lake Reinhardt. If we have folks here.
yeah, sorry.
They'll
Did
pass
you
out
bore you to
this.
sleep yet?
That, we need a motion for that, or is that?
Make a motion.
So moved.
Second, good,
Make it happen.
all
Done.
right. Please come up.
So I don't know if y'all looked over the application. You like, so have any questions, you want me to give like a rundown of what the event is?
Just real briefly.
Can
just
can you introduce yourself so we get your name on the record?
My boss Elise was the one who did like sign the application and everything, but she was unable to make it tonight.
Okay.
And I'm a development events planner at Give Kids the World, so I help plan all of our fundraising events and help Kids the World. I don't know if y'all know the nonprofit, but we are in Kissimmee, and we are a all-inclusive resort for children with critical illnesses and their families to stay while they're experiencing all that Central Florida has to offer on their wish trips. And we're celebrating 200,000 families, which is being fulfilled at the village this year, which is really awesome and really amazing since 1986. And we wanted to have a celebration with our partners and big donors and everything like that at the Celebration Inn for this 200,000 celebration that we're calling Share Your Light. And we are going to, we would love if we can put lanterns out onto the lake, because I think it would just make it very beautiful. There's a whole storytelling element of turning darkness into light and just sharing the light that our families have that we're sharing to them and they're sharing to us back. And it's just a really special ceremony that we're kind of hoping to have right on the lake.
You're familiar with the venue.
Yes,
So
we
you
did
would-
walk around.
Perfect. Now, so I know is it gonna, do you want to do it at the inn or at the steps of the promenade?
Yes, so we would have a reception at the end and then we would end up doing it at the steps of the promenade is the hope.
Or that's what the heck is
Yeah,
that?
whatever.
Once you let the lanterns go into the water, who would remove them?
We would, so we actually have two different, thoughts of how we might do it. We actually are doing a onsite at the village. Version for like our media, in May, so I will be testing to make sure my thoughts work, for it. But, we have a boat if we would be allowed, but we also could, do string is what we're thinking, where they're all attached into kind of like a bundle, so we set them loose, but then we can like pull the string back and bring them back easily to retrieve them. And they would be LED candles, not real candles, so we don't have to worry about
What the
like.
luminary device was.
Okay.
Angel, do you think you need anybody from staff out there while this is going on, or does it seem pretty simple?
No, our biggest concern is obviously what's gonna be released, right? Who's gonna retrieve it, and if there's anything that could spill or go into the waterway, any sort of chemical or anything like that, but if it's not a lit fire, that sounds fine. LED lights, so you should be able, everything would be intact when you pull it out.
Yes, I actually have one of the lanterns with me, don't want me to open it up.
Sure.
but-
That was our biggest concern is just that.
Yeah.
That's it.
So they're just, I tested them, they do float. And eventually I have a candle just right in the middle of one, an LB LED candle, which I did earlier today, and we put them out on the lake. And we really like the idea of kind of like doing almost a bouquet of them, so it's easy to pull back with the string. I think that would be really.
Is it gonna be attached? The LED candle, is it gonna be
Yes,
attached?
it's gonna be attached to the center
Yeah.
of.
So when you're
the-
pulling it back, it's not
It's
gonna
flip
flop
over
out into the water?
Yes,
Okay.
I would, yes.
How long are you gonna be using the lake for that?
It would be probably about 30 minutes, I think, not a long time, because I think around 8:30 is when we're thinking, and then just kind of having the moment and then bringing it.
All right, we'll probably have that fountain going at that point in time. Should we think about shutting that down?
We can program it, we can shut it down.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you'll have aerators too, so, I mean, would you want all those off for the events?
There's aerators.
There's no aerators in Reinhardt.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
There are?
7 of them.
Oh, the bubblers?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't
I'm
think-
thinking aerator.
Yeah, I don't think that will impact the water enough to move it around.
So the question I had is, if everyone's leaving the inn and they're gonna be down the steps,
Yes,
is the expectation that area be closed off?
no, public can come up and see the lanterns or anything like that as well. We'll have a lot of our staff there, so if people are wondering what is happening, we can.
Well, is the road gonna be blocked off or anything?
The road doesn't need to be blocked off, there's that like. Right, this is the sidewalk's really big right there near that,
Yes, hold on.
yeah, so we wouldn't need to block it off. We would only have 75 to 100 people at the reception anyway, so they can definitely fit in that space.
What day of the week is it?
It's a Saturday.
Okay, so a couple of things. Saturday in June is gonna be very busy. Very busy. Because of to just get a lot of tourists. So and that's why I asked whether it was gonna be closed off or not. Yeah, those rocking chairs are full. There's people all around and stuff. So just to understand that expectation. I don't think you're gonna get that many people near the water, because it's gonna be a lot of people there already.
I would make a recommendation, we allow them to close it off.
But that would require staff to go ahead and.
And that's why I'm saying it now. I mean, I don't want them to have an event and all of a sudden they find out the people that they're intending to be there at the event. And it's great that the community's there as well, but if there's 75 to 100 people, especially if they're the families that are intended to be there, I'd like to allow them, if they think they need to close that area off.
I agree, simply because they're going through the process of doing this beforehand. They're not just showing up on the day of and trying to move people around, so.
Okay.
I can come for that. I volunteered there several times, so I have no problem coming out and helping them.
Just leave the billy club at home.
It's a Saturday night for X number of hours and volunteer. So
I'll probably go out there anyway.
Yeah, so we could volunteer.
I also got the wooden dock down below too, so.
Can they both be there?
Hold a lot of
As
people.
long as they don't talk.
They don't, yeah, as long as you don't talk about CDD business.
Just can't talk.
No, you can't talk to anybody.
Not that I want to talk about, but I mean.
Yeah, wow. You're the new liaison.
So do we need a motion to approve this?
No, they
You were-
already submitted the application, they did everything. Our biggest concern was what was being
Oh, the
released.
cleanup. and what was-
The cleanup
Yeah.
and if there was gonna be anything that
Yeah.
impacted the waterway.
And now that they know it's $5,000 to do a lake cleanup, they'll probably do
Yeah.
it.
Mr. Chairman, you do have a motion and a second on the floor, if that matters.
We do?
Yeah,
Nobody,
Mr. Frylock made it and Mr. Hume seconded.
no, nobody
No,
made
this-
a motion for
No.
this.
Yeah, we haven't.
For what line items?
We're closing down.
Brenda?
For the use application or for closing it off?
We didn't, we don't have a motion for either one of them.
No. Do
Yeah.
we,
That's what I heard. Okay, I'll take care of
that's what it was to switch the line item.
Yeah, we switched the line
Oh,
items.
that was-
D went to A.
Yeah, that was to switch the line item, Brenda.
On the agenda.
So you were right and you were wrong too. So.
So,
50-50.
I mean, the one comment I'll make is, listen, I love this. And I hope that in the future, you guys find more ways to come to us, because I love the fact that this is being done in our town. And I know what Give Kids the World does, so anything we can do to help that, I think this is awesome.
Yeah, you don't have to approve anything. If you do want us to shut it down, to corn off so they have a nice little area for whoever's coming, then yeah, you would make a motion for that part.
What, 30 minutes beforehand?
Yes.
Let's make a motion.
I so moved.
To do that.
Second.
One discussion, can we request a deputy to go ahead and be there?
Well, we should
Just
have
for
a
the
Saturday night deputy there.
We should, but I want to make sure
We
they
can
are
do
there.
what we do
I
with
think
the,
it just,
with the menorah lighting. We already have a deputy down there, so I always call them and say, can you just spend
Yeah.
from 5 to 6 when they're lighting the menorah down there? So I'll do the same thing and just have a deputy there from the time they're doing it.
I mean, that would just.
As
be a
part of the
regular Saturday
detail.
night.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
just want them around there when people say, no, I don't want to move. Yeah, you're gonna move.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know how it is.
And that's what I'll do, the same as what we do during the menorah lighting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There we
Thank
go.
you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
That's your motion, Brenda.
Thank you. Sound is still not terrific, but thank you for the clarification.
AV issues.
All right, well, set it around this way.
No, it's not your fault. Okay. Moving on to series 2025 bond finance matters.
Yes.
You want me to? Sure. Included is the final assessment report. If you recall, there was a preliminary assessment report with a bond amount, a resolution of up to $7,500,000. When the bonds were sold, the final amount for the bonds is $6,285,000. So this report brings down the amount and the assessments to the actual amount of the bonds. It sets the assessments on the parcels that are currently not platted, but it gives the amounts for each of the platted lots. So this is pretty much the finalization of those assessments, because we set them higher than they are going to be to make sure we have room when the bonds are sold.
And the assessment per year per each lot is this, and I asked it before, I just want to make sure it didn't change, but it's the same as what's assessed to phase one or a different amount?
No. Brenda, do you know offhand? I mean, the annual assessment for townhomes, the gross stuff is $954.
Right, and
Single-
Dave is correct. When I looked at what the assessments are currently for series 2021, it's the same.
Okay.
Same dollar amounts.
How would those be, I mean.
And
materials go up?
that's how they price the bonds,
Oh.
depending on the
As-
interest rate, they price the bonds.
It has nothing to do with cost, it's.
Right.
It's a marketing thing.
Yes.
Because when you sell a house, you gotta disclose what the CDD fee is, and they don't wanna charge these guys more than what they were charging.
Charge
first.
it. Right.
So.
I don't wanna speak for you, Chuck, by the way, but.
And if SETI is also on the phone, if y'all have any questions that she can answer from MBS Capital.
Who?
SETI's there is on.
Oh, okay. Do you want to confirm that, Seti? You may not know either.
Yeah. I believe Brenda, I mean, that
Yeah.
they were intended to be the same. I just didn't check them. And that's why we approved the resolution in a higher amount, so then based on interest rates and pricing, they can pick the amount that works out the numbers they want. And so if there's no questions on that, we look for approval of resolution 2025-08, which adopts the final assessment resolution with bonds priced in the amount of $6,385,000.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on to proposed,
Was there more than
is
one?
there more than one?
No, that's it. No, I'm
Okay.
just seeing if she had a sign at the top.
Okay.
Because I already gave her mine.
Let the record show it was delayed because Angel got lost.
Well, Tim Bromwell just sent something else. Can you look in your email?
He didn't, I did not have that one.
The federal tax,
No, he didn't send that one.
it's red line.
Make it on
Oh, was it
motion.
just red line or was it his signature? I thought we signed all his certificates.
Attachment PDF red line changes. Reflecting revisions since the draft was circulated.
Okay, well, that's for us to look at tomorrow to make sure
Yeah.
the changes
Just
are.
forward your final. Yeah, okay.
That's fine.
All right, we're good.
Okay, moving on to proposal to install lightning rods on the office building roof.
Okay, so lightning strikes twice. We went over two of these proposals before.
Say that.
Yes.
Actually, I just thought that when I was sitting there. Yeah, so lighting Gulf Coast and coastal lightning rods are the two we looked at before. Maxwell Lighting is the new player. They're kind of in the middle. I noticed after he said it, he doesn't list a number of rods, but he has the same 29 as the first quote. That's what was on the building that existed.
Originally.
Originally, yes. Yeah,
But
So-
one has 36, the other has 29, but.
correct. So Mac,
That level loaded of the bid and it just didn't make much sense. So
Yeah.
29 sufficient for those.
29 is code, that's what's there. The additional rods were added because he was going to do the dormers individually. Which really doesn't offer a lot of additional protection, it's not by code.
Did he
So-
go back and buy based on the cost per unit?
He did not.
They
So-
find maybe so.
Well, he was not in a position to negotiate, he was not very cooperative. I asked him to modify the
All
quote.
right, excellent.
So.
And I can't remember what, I think maybe I had that conversation with Dave or something, that one of the people wasn't very cooperative, so. Maxwell is putting in what was here, they are doing some new hardware. Lighting Gulf Coast is using some existing infrastructure that was shared before. Maxwell said, I don't think that's a good idea, you're putting a new system, we're putting new ground rods in. I was much more comfortable dealing with Maxwell, is how I will share that, so.
Then I would recommend Maxwell.
Yeah, the second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
All right. It is Maxwell, thank you.
Okay, moving on, Angel, I think this one's you, this one's for you. Resolution 2025-09, adding Mr. Satterwhite as assistant secretary.
Assistant secretary.
Sounds like a lot of writing.
Yeah, that's a big statement.
Yeah, I think it's,
I don't want to sign any more bond documents.
yeah, exactly.
My hands.
So all it is adding Carrie, so he'll be able to sign on behalf of the district, same as I am. I'm the secretary and he would be listed as an assistant secretary. That's all, just have.
We have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. So how many people can now sign?
Well,
Just two?
we can't sign your checks.
Yeah, 2 board members
Yeah.
and 2 staff people can sign as assistant
Chair,
secretary.
vice chair, assistant secretary and secretary. And then you have a treasurer and assistant treasurer. But this is just documents for the district. We don't get to sign like checks that go out on your behalf. That's the treasurer and stuff like that. So
I
we
signed
don't-
fake checks to
Yeah, we
Jack
don't
and he
get that
tries to catch me.
privilege of the check
It's amazing.
writing.
He uses auto sign.
capacity. Yeah. That's it.
All right, that's it. All right, so we're moving on to discussion items. First, a memorandum of understanding with Pro regarding property maintenance.
And you want to start, or you want me to start?
Why don't you start with the discussion of how you got to this, and you want me to start?
Yeah, no, so I, this has been lingering for a couple months, so the last month's meeting, I had not gotten this out in time to staff to take a look at, so. Charlie Eldridge should come back with a recommended memorandum of understanding. That was predicated on some language in, I think it was the CCNRs about them having to do grinding on sidewalks, but we would still do replacement on sidewalks. Which to me sounds problematic because then if something happens, who's responsible for what? I talked to Lauren and said, Lauren, is the overall, in layman's terms, is the overall intent to get CROA treated the same as basically any other property owner, so that we would take care of the sidewalk replacement, whether that's grinding or actual replacement. They would take care of the cleaning for any adjacent sidewalks around their properties. Clearly, any sidewalks within their property, they're 100% responsible for. So like, by Heritage Hall, the inner sidewalks would be them. And then for the verge areas, again, consistent with every other property in town, we would do tree replacement. They would do all the other, and we would do tree replacement. We would also do the quarterly trimming schedules that we do for all the other areas of town. They would do the other regular maintenance of sod and irrigation and things like that. And she said not necessarily the recommendation of her board, because they hadn't gotten that far, but she would recommend that to her board just for simplicity's sake, to get it consistent with the rest of town. So Jen, I mean, is that's not what's in this document, but I think that's
This
what.
document doesn't cover that at
Yeah,
all.
I mean,
Yeah.
I could argue the other way, that, you know, the CCNRs for unit owners, it's clear they just do their own, but for the association, they're have an area of responsibility that includes landscaping, sidewalks, streetlights, signage within public right of ways. It can include public property to the extent it's not taken over by someone else, which it seems like for the last 20-some years, they were doing that.
Mhm.
So, you know, I think the discussion for the board is, do you want
Thank
to, you can certainly agree to take over something more, but when I read the document, you kind of left out that last line. I think you could, you know, go either way and say, you know, your CCNRs allow you to take care of that. You've been doing it. If you want to continue, we'd be happy. If not, we'd have to decide if we're going to agree to take it over.
So I have several issues with this memorandum of understanding. Number one, I don't understand it.
No, I don't.
Okay, because, and here's where I'm going with that. So number one, historically, they have taken care of that. It's number one. Number two, not only, when I say taken care of, they've included that in their budget, in their landscaping budget to go ahead and do that. You know, even when I was on the pro board, we would approve sidewalk repair. Okay. And so the CCDD has never, and I can blatantly say that, never had that in their budget to go ahead and include any of those areas. Okay. And then all of a sudden, yeah, we're not taking care of it. Now, one way or another, residents have to pay for that, and I get that, okay? But here we are going in budget season, which was not respective of our budget season to go ahead and decide something. The other thing is that way back when the CCDD owned all the roads in Celebration. When we owned all the roads in Celebration, that was going to hand over to the county. When it was going to be handed over to the county did inspection of all the roads and go, you got to fix this road, this road, this road. CCDD had to go ahead and fix that. And then they handed it over. So we even considered to go ahead and take over the sidewalks. We would have to inspect the sidewalks and see if whatever had to be repaired, and then we would take it over. We can't take the liability off. That'd be my opinion. The other thing that this memorandum does not cover at all is every village. So I think we would actually have to have maps to detail what we would go ahead and manage and what they would manage, because they are completely confused about that, even though it's Crow property. Spring Lake is a very good example of that, where we get tickets all the time. Oh, you need to go ahead and fix that. I'm like, yeah, that's your area. And it's confusion. We do way too much work handling Crow tickets because they don't know what they own. So they would have to have detailed maps associated with this on all of Celebration before I can, because I need to know what are we gonna be taking over. So I got a lot of confusions of this. You know, first and foremost for me, it wasn't handled the way it should have been at all. So that still burns in my mouth that's how we decided to approach this. But then again, historically, they've always taken care of all that stuff. I don't know, the change came technically when Grand Manor didn't know what they were managing to know. That's actually what happened. So I don't know how we get involved in all that. So that's my opinion.
I mean, the thing that jumped out at me when I initially read this, I don't like the idea of them doing grinding on sidewalks when we're doing repairs on sidewalks, because if something
You can't.
happens. Now we're trying to figure out who was liable for what, was it a grinding thing, was it a repairing thing? I'm not saying which way we need to go, but I think it needs to be all of one or all the other. If we split this up, I think that's gonna be a problem.
The other thing to note is in the service area agreements that we got all those copies of, in those, it says very clearly that the party that installed the park is responsible for the entire common area.
Mhm.
It's in accordance with the original plan, which, I think when you take that reasoning, it makes sense if they've done a park and planted their trees and
Sure.
everything else is the
It
way
was
that
considered
they.
part of the park.
Exactly. So it's kind of hard to be taking over when we don't really know what the plan was, or, the trees, the same trees we have everywhere else. And the sidewalks the same width as everywhere else.
All right, so is additional negotiation required at this point?
They threw this down as a first shot, because I asked them, I said, guys, I need you to put it in writing what you're asking.
Okay, so after you say no,
Then my recommendation would be, we need to give guidance to Jan as to what our counteroffer is for high level language. I don't think we need to adjudicate semicolons and thous and shouts here, but we need to tell her what she needs to write to send back to Charlie Aldridge as a
So
counter.
it's, I don't know, see, holistically, there's a lot of areas that I don't think you can determine whether it's us or them. But North Village is a very prime example. They're in the middle areas. There you have all this grass, which is Croa.
No,
And-
no.
No,
We own CDD grass
Yeah.
all the way up until you get to the intersection of East Park.
no. Go past the playground.
That's all.
All the areas in yellow. on
That's
the
what
map.
that's what I'm saying.
Past one.
Right, and so if you go in that area, that is in the middle area, it's Croa, okay, based on what they're saying. But there are no sidewalks there.
Yeah, there are.
No,
There are.
no, there's one section where it's just trees.
No, it's all.
Are you
sidewalks.
sure?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So that would be the defining thing. I don't know, we just historically, it's,
in general, everything that's yellow up there, they take care of. Isn't that what our,
Well, the what's in yellow isn't the question, it's the
No.
stuff that's adjacent to the yellow is what's
Right.
coming up.
I just, it's always been part of the park.
Is this also inclusive of what we ran into when they put in the Island Village Clubhouse and then said we need to replace all the street
That-
trees in front?
That's what
That's what
started
started
the
it.
conversation.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would start it. It was just, for me, that was number one. They should have taken care of the trees or propped them up. They didn't, and we finally had to, because the
We did
residents
it.
are like, no one's doing anything.
yeah,
And it was like 2-3 weeks and we finally did it.
Mhm.
And if I remember on the map, there's dotted lines around the tree that go right back to that property. I mean, the map is there.
So let me ask a simplistic question for Jan. Given what's in the CCNRs and what Charlie Eldridge sent you a couple weeks ago. Is there ambiguity at that point as to who owns what, if we go by what's in that language, or if you take that, is that clear, and then we just need to Tom's point, we just need to go on a map and say this, and this all apply
I
here.
mean, I think we say that they have the responsibility to take care of everything, including the public properties in front of their parcels.
Yeah.
Unless someone is
But
taking
you're saying
over.
the
and we have
CCNRs,
never
there's
taken
no
over.
ambiguity into those, that it's pretty clear.
I would argue there's not, but he left it out completely. I
so,
mean, the fact that the course of conduct has been, we've never accepted, then we're gonna say
Right.
that, yes, you.
so are we asking for them to do something different than we would ask an individual lot owner?
Well,
We're
yes,
asking
because
them to do
they're-
what they've always done.
Well,
Yes.
They're not,
On the-
that's
on
not
the
my
on the
question.
residential parcels, the residents have to maintain up to the sidewalk. And then the sidewalk and the green space to the curb, we take care of the trees, they have to maintain the irrigation and all.
Right,
And that's what that they're trying to do for their parcels, it sounds like from this agreement.
Well, I like what Jan said. She gave it very clearly in a few sentences what you need to do. And I think Charlie needs to revisit this because he did do a very good job. Which is like some of the other contracts I've seen from him.
They're trying to get to a different position than what's necessarily in the CCNRs.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
this, Jan's the final authority.
I'm not disagreeing, I'm just saying my observation of what their motive is.
Yeah, I think the hard thing is, we want to be treated as just another homeowner. But they're not another homeowner.
That's not how the CCNRs were written.
That isn't how it works. As much as they would like that, we would have to agree to that. We're not gonna agree to that. So.
And we don't have time this year to even do it. I mean, with the budget coming up, there's no way of figuring out which properties, how many
So-
trees, inspecting sidewalks and all to even, even if the board agreed to do it, it would be.
So I would recommend that Jan go back with a revised proposal in accordance with the CCNRs. And to your point, I agree with you on the maps, but I don't think the maps matter right now.
No, not
I
yet.
think it
but-
matters.
yeah,
general
later,
agreement,
but
and then we can.
yeah,
I
I mean,
wanna
they
have-
might not.
Yeah.
I mean, I think based.
We don't need an easement or something over that area?
We could give them a license agreement if they want, but it's public property. And it says that they can maintain public property as long as no one else is doing it. I mean, we could put in the agreement that we have not agreed to maintain it, and here's a license agreement, you can go maintain.
And we've never done it.
We need to give them a license agreement.
No, it's public property.
All right, so really our position is,
Just go back to the CCNRs.
Yeah, and refer back, and there's no proposal, just referring back to the fact.
The only thing is, I think if we both have Jan engage this.
I think she does.
I don't really want.
Yeah, he's gonna come back and
He's gonna come back and
A
say,
brief statement.
Yeah, that's all it is, then you frame it, this is what we're giving you.
All right.
They come back and say they don't wanna do it, they wanna be treated differently, because our board didn't agree to accept.
okay, so here's what happens is that we don't maintain it and they don't maintain it and it looks like crap. Right?
Well, but,
They
Who's
but
gonna blame?
They have to maintain under the CCNRs unless someone else has agreed. to do
Oh,
it.
so they do, okay, so you can point to something that says,
Mhm.
well,
That's
our
my point. The
board,
CCNRs, according to Jan, clearly delineate it's their responsibility. This is not an ambiguity.
the problem is, the attorney's gonna come back and say no. Cause that's,
No, what?
But based on what is the
Except to the extent responsibility has been assigned or assumed by the CCDD or enterprise.
But we never.
So
we never
we
did.
say, well, we've never assigned or assumed it, so landscaping, sidewalks, trees. They have to take care of.
I forget what his email said, why he wasn't referring back to the CCNR.
I think we just
all
kind of
right,
skipped
so
this section.
let me fast forward to
Yes.
when there is a deficient sidewalk panel. And somebody falls and sues,
Mhm.
are we liable?
Yes. If it
Yeah,
belongs to
yeah,
us.
All
right, so we're not-
We will be, and then we would go to the insurance company and say, well, they're supposed to be making.
Okay, so we have exposure or we don't?
We're going to always have exposure.
Always.
because-
Are we gonna
But we
be,
would try to show the CCNRs that it's their responsibility, they need to be brought in as well.
all right, so in your opinion, we wouldn't be found at fault because we're,
Well, you're gonna be
Yeah,
involved, you're gonna be joined.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be joint liability because we own it, but we would say they should have 100% of the liability, it would just depend on course.
so we would be included. We might not be
We
like
would try to
financially.
fund off
with
to
the-
that,
whatever
yes.
it's like,
yeah, I just,
And we would, I will document it, so there's sufficient information to say, we have never taken this responsibility on, it's always been yours under this, so we have some documentation.
So I'd also say in all this, Angel and I have talked with Lauren. Jan has emailed twice with Charlie. I think getting Charlie on the phone and saying.
Yeah, no, I just told them I had to talk to the board.
Yeah,
but,
all right.
in this
I think getting
agreement-
Charlie on the phone and saying, listen, I've got a very clear reading of the CCNRs.
Mhm.
Here's what our read is. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, and here
But
he's
he's-
saying we're wrong.
Yeah, he's saying we're
The
wrong.
CDD can assume or be assigned any or all responsibilities in the rights of way
Okay, so we can,
adjacent to Croa common property.
we can assume is an easy one for me.
Yeah.
What does it mean for them to, what does it mean we can be assigned? Assigned by whom?
An assignment you have to accept. I mean, they can say.
They
we
can't
assigned it to you.
unilaterally assign.
I mean,
Yeah,
they
they're
can
not-
try to argue we did,
Understand
but
you
we'll,
can do
we'll
it,
say no.
Okay.
And he says if the parties limit Croa to the same responsibilities as homeowners, then Croa, he spelled it Cora,
Mhm.
would stop all maintenance of sidewalks other than pressure washing, and the CDD would replace all trees and sidewalks when needed. I mean, he's like putting it out there.
He referred to 6.1.
I don't know if you guys know, but are there any
9-2.
sidewalks in town we don't own?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sidewalks by Heritage Hall that are interior to the park.
I think downtown too by Starbucks and stuff, right? We don't
Well, that's all
know.
Canoa stuff.
Do we have any sidewalks by the school?
Okay, so this
Yes.
wouldn't be unprecedented.
Georgetown.
They have
Yeah, and
sidewalks.
any of the service, the small service areas.
Or the pocket parks, the
Aerosol.
blocks
Yeah,
that
but
go through.
here, well, let me put it this way, these are sidewalks on our property. Technically, correct?
Mhm.
So are there
In the
any
service-
sidewalks on our property that we don't maintain?
If there's a service area that borders a public road, yes.
If there's a CCNR that says they're supposed to be, then we.
I don't think this.
I'm
is-
just making sure we're on solid ground.
No, I don't think, no, it's
He's
gonna be a
not gonna-
board, it's gonna
yeah,
be a board.
It's gonna be a board to board thing.
Can I ask another question?
Sure.
Just something just into me here.
Mhm.
So are you saying that if it's a service area, and a service area could be defined by a group of townhomes, a group of homes, a group of everything? We are not responsible for the sidewalks if it's documented in the CCRs.
It talks about if there's a park, that they will take care of the park as planned, like all the property,
Okay.
as per the original plan.
Okay, so really just parks, not service area.
Yeah, common areas and.
A common, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
common areas.
I always got it
So
said.
back in the day, we always, me and Brian and Gary more than that. If it ran on their irrigation system, they took care of everything,
Right,
trees, sidewalks, landscape. Simple as that. Which is
All
pretty
right, well,
much
we don't
about,
desire to change that,
which is
so
about the
that's our
same as
response.
that print right there.
Yeah.
Right on the grade.
So when he comes back and says, no, my board doesn't want to, then we're gonna have to figure out how we communicate it to the board.
well,
We just
It's
don't-
so funny that what he says, this language does not specifically identify rights of ways adjacent to common area, but rather. Some that are within the residential property. Since CROA grinds the sidewalks adjacent to its parks, that indicates that these are areas that CROA will maintain.
Which then he said he wouldn't maintain sidewalks. and
Right,
then
so
he
he's
said-
just kind of picking
oh,
and
why, yeah,
choosing.
why would I mention that?
Yeah, yeah,
All right, so honestly, our decision is that we're not maintaining those areas. Have a nice
we
day.
have the CCNRs require them to continue maintaining them.
Right.
And we haven't been maintaining, you know.
And we're not interested in discussing it further.
Not really, there's no reason to, we've never maintained it.
Okay, end of story.
Russ, you brought up a question. You said Georgetown sidewalks belong to Georgetown?
Inside and stuff, yeah.
No,
Inside,
not,
inside.
okay.
That was my question.
Are we gonna repair any of those sidewalks?
I don't.
Part of-
Because they go there high,
I
those
think
people
they
going
should pay
across it
for
every
it.
day.
Yeah. So I inventory Georgetown sidewalks for Georgetown. And their request,
Well, they're
Almost-
paying for it, right?
yeah,
Yeah, they're
almost,
paying for it.
almost all of their damage is from the lifts.
So they're paying for it, okay.
Good on them.
Okay, so
Okay, we got a plan.
we do have a plan. I guess there's nothing really to decide at this point.
No.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, done with, are we done with that discussion item? Okay,
Move to the side.
next one, policy for stormwater ponds for recreational use.
What's that?
It's on there.
That is B, yeah, it's B.
Yeah.
It's the second and last discussion item.
Yeah,
It should
that
be
is our,
Recreational use.
Yeah, but I don't have a.
So that is that the one where the
Mr. Speedboat.
Oh,
Mr.
yeah.
Speedboat, the remote control speedboat?
Correct.
Shouldn't be anything on any of these ponds, they're
Yeah.
stormwater ponds, they're not like ski lakes and stuff, they're gross
So-
retention ponds.
Yeah, the general policy of engineers and CDD attorneys is they are a stormwater system, there should be no recreational activities, because once you get a boat in there, then you get a kayak, then you get somebody fishing on the side.
Well, we used to have the pedal boats down there at Lake Reinhardt.
They got approved by the CCD.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
paddle boats, that's what I heard.
Well, that was different because that was a commercial business, that wasn't
Right,
Johnny going out with his kids.
So what is our policy gonna look like? I mean. I don't see,
We can do a one paragraph, these are stormwater.
and how are we gonna publish this? Is it just gonna be on our website?
we can put it on the website, we can send it out via the My Celebration app, you can send it out via Facebook, I mean.
Well, I mean, it's not even policy to do.
Yeah, rewind, because
I mean,
I don't know where we're going with this.
Brenda, is there currently anything, I think you sent me over what was regarding stormwater ponds, didn't they already have something?
This district does not, other than when people have asked us before, we would say, no, they're not for recreation. they're for stormwater, but if you want to ask for it, then send in a use application and then we deny it. There are just too many issues, and so we've never approved, other than a handful of limited cases where they wanted to do like catch and release on Lake.
Oh, the catch and release fishing tournament.
Correct. And then there was some where they did some powered, I don't know, sailboats. I think it was just one time years ago on Lake Reinhardt, but that was through a use application. Again, the board approved it. The paddle boats were through a concession agreement. The board approved it. But anything else that's happened, it's only been when they've called or we have had to individually talk with people. We don't have anything formal.
You can do something formal. I mean, I honestly, I don't think you need to, but
What's the enforcement mechanism for the guy running around in the?
Carrie goes down and
Oh,
says, "Can you
I mean,
please not do
just-
that?"
if staff
Well,
catches
and-
him, we ask
Staff
him.
comes in.
Yeah, and that's where
Well, but
I've confronted him a couple times. He's always been very cordial. We've had other staff where he was not cordial and
can we trespass them?
Yeah, what's?
was he good?
Yeah, if it's a
Kind of,
safety
it's a
issue.
yeah, if it's safety.
Someone.
I think we're coming in with a pound of enforcement on that's a problem here.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, we don't have any other enforcement method.
So
I'm gonna say out loud, well, I realize the rule is somebody going out there on a speedboat on a Saturday afternoon. I mean, listen, I'll raise my hand and say I've taken my kid with the Cub Scouts fishing in the ponds and I have not put in an application.
Shame on you.
Yeah.
And you're a representative?
I know.
Wow.
What?
Call me criminal, throw me off the board. My Monday nights back.
That's only tonight.
That's only today.
It's only a couple.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
we come
mean,
in.
if there's a systemic problem where 100 people show up on a Saturday and they're bringing kegs of beer and lawn chairs, I got it. We're gonna send staff out there. and
Yeah,
say,
but I think the reason was the noise problem, wasn't there?
Yeah, well, the last time he was there was a exotic car show
Yeah.
and I got the phone call and I went down.
During the car show.
Yeah, and I just
And the
said,
car show, they put in a permit specifically to
That
ask for
is
use in the
correct.
area and had
That
exclusive
is
use.
correct.
That makes sense to me.
Mhm.
You know,
I'm just throwing this out because I agree. I don't arrest anybody. I don't want to do any of that stuff. The thing I always go, if it's this one guy and eventually he gets bored and doesn't do it anymore, you're good. It's just that I think we wait to the fact that does it set precedents? I don't know. So we wait and see.
the official position of the board is you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Am I suggesting we're dedicating priority staff hours to go chasing people that are fishing?
No, I think
Boats?
Well, if we do that, we need to take down that picture.
Or people are fishing.
promotional picture.
Yeah, but there's no motorboats, no gasoline.
Yeah, and if somebody falls in off the edge of a.
And no
pond
fires
fishing,
either.
we wanna make sure that we
Yeah.
have
We've.
been.
The thing is
But
falling
But you
in,
notice out there
and
that-
if you're putting motorized stuff in that, what's being admitted into the water body itself that can cause us problems? That's the thing.
are you disrupting wildlife? Are you chasing
Yeah,
ducks, birds, aquatic life?
your grackles, this may be the perfect thing to get rid of them, put a bunch of motorized boats in the pond.
What the hell? Keep on pooping in my
I
pond.
think it's a grackle, is it a grackle?
Yes, I was told it was a crack.
It's a grackle.
Okay,
God bless you.
I don't know, some kind of bird.
Sounds like something off the Muppet Show.
No, I don't
Brown
know,
bird.
gravel rock.
So is there something we need to act on here?
I don't think so. It's a discussion item.
I think if it becomes a problem and we see a lot of it, we're getting
I
a
don't
lot
think
of
it's a problem.
complaints, I
Staff's
think.
discretion.
Yeah,
you guys
Carrie
get a
comes to the
problem.
board and says, hey, we gotta get a policy in place or something like that, but I don't think
Well,
right now. Do you?
Well-
You need to say the policy is they are stormwater ponds for infrastructure, and
Yes.
there's no recreational facility, period, but enforcement is.
Yeah, it got to the agenda because we had the same individual every single day. He's complaining. How come you not do anything about this? Can't the board do something about it? So my response was like, we'll put it on the agenda and discuss it. And I haven't heard from him since then.
So
So
we discussed it.
All right, well, but does that mean we're gonna start going after people that are fishing?
No.
No, that's Florida wildlife.
Anything
unless
else?
it's Greg and then
Hey,
I'll go.
And well,
I hate catching now, they're-
so why are you fishing? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. All right. Anyways.
Release. No, you're not
The point of fishing to fish.
You're not fishing.
All right,
Oh, yeah, my bad.
moving on. Other business updates, supervisor comment. We'll start with Mr. Feinberg at the end of the table.
I'll think of somebody trying to get over.
No, this is your chance. Done. Shall?
Business.
All right, real quick, at our last
What?
You had to ask.
meeting.
Last meeting.
You just said I have a few questions and that's it.
One
What
more
you say
thing.
real quick,
One
you're
more-
lying as soon as you start talking.
One more time,
Okay,
last meeting, you were going to reply to the county on that stupid study that they were doing.
The RFB,
Yes, I didn't see anything happen. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't.
I did not send them an email. I called him to ask if I could be included in the study and he said yes.
Okay, and we just haven't heard anything.
Yeah, it won't be done. I called 3 days after our meeting. I called on a Thursday, the week of our meeting. He said you're looking at 3 weeks before they even remotely start to finalize it.
Okay,
So I'll check back in with him
great.
and then, yes, as soon as he said he has no problem, which would probably be on the email chain because he plans on sending it to this
That
Brad.
guy?
Yeah,
Okay,
and we're on the email chain. So at that point, I would forward it out to the board.
yes.
Okay.
Alright. And then I know that you're working with Dick's Height on their short pay. Did you find a time to meet?
Yeah, these people, it's very annoying. Because they seem to not understand. So she sent over, just so you all know, little history here, Dave's been on every email. So they sent over probably a month ago now. First time said, hey, you short paid an invoice like $1,700, something like that. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, no, we paid everything the board approved. I sent a snapshot of it and said, here you go. Please let me know where the shortfall is. So nothing. Then
You got another
a
one.
week ago, we get another one going, hey, you short, but a different amount now. They said $500 because they had to redo the report. And I said, no, that's not our problem. That's you. You have to redo your report. So we're not paying for that. They ended up telling Brenda and I both that, okay, we'll give you a credit for the 500. Then they came back with $2,500 for somebody, can't say who, negotiated an additional meeting. And I said, no, we didn't negotiate a different meeting. Brenda goes, this is when the meetings happen. We paid for these on work order X.
Yeah, we did.
And she goes, well, we've only billed you $89,148 and the board approved 90,000. I said, no, that is not how this works. You don't get a not to exceed. I said each specific work order was a specific scope. You did all of that, you billed accordingly. Well, we made an error on our billing. And I said, you know what, it's better if we have a call. So we have a call next week to get it finalized. Dave, if you're available, I would like you on that call.
Okay.
They still haven't told us
On Tuesday?
who negotiated this extra additional meeting. And Brenda said, well, are you talking about the board just authorized an additional meeting with PROA, but it hasn't happened yet.
And it might not happen.
Exactly, so
No,
you
we're not
can't.
paying
You can't
bill
charge
us.
us for something that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta try that.
It's just, and I sent the whole chain to Jan so she could see in case I misspoke. But it's just very bizarre.
Yeah, she agreed their billing system was wrong.
Yeah,
but
she goes, it's
didn't-
on our end, and I'm like,
So why am I getting? the
so
letter?
why are you
That's
pounding
when I
me
stopped
saying
looking at it, going,
we
okay,
short
right.
paid you when you self-admittedly it was on your end and work orders, we've already paid it. Like, I just don't understand any of it. So yes, that is still outstanding, Dave, until we have the call and get some sort of finalized statement from them. But I don't know what that looks like. But in my mind, and I put it very clear in my email,
You did, you were like, this is.
hello, this is done. As far as we are concerned, this project has been finalized and
You get paid.
yeah, and we don't owe you anything, is what I put in the email. And she goes, I think we'll have a call. I was like, okay, so that's where it's at.
That's all, great. And lastly is looking at the calendar, and as you mentioned, I have Tuesday problems through the end of June. And we've got this the meeting for signs in hurricane.
On the
That's a
13th,
Tuesday.
yes, the 13th, which is a Tuesday, the May 6th is a Tuesday, and then the May 27th is a Tuesday.
Yes. So the 13th is probably something I can't do.
It's your meeting.
Well, I know, but now I can't do it. But
I'm happy not to have.
the thing
I was all side meeting.
Let me to say that.
I wanted this meeting 2 months ago. You could, everyone somehow got pushed over.
We gave it to
today.
you on another Tuesday.
Yeah, the sign is
Okay,
horrible. There's 30 years of documents that no one
Wants to look at.
So do you have something to go over on the 13th? I mean,
I would have something. I mean, so far, just quick glancing, it's like there's a lot of old agreements, you know, there's some things that are pretty clear, and there's a lot of things that the county's gonna say, we didn't know we had a sign ordinance that said that, or a sign agreement.
Given the fact we're about to get hip deep in the budget season, while I agree with you, I'd like to solve, because it's not just the signs, it's also the,
We wrapped in hurricane protocol.
well, the hurricane stuff inside.
And that's actually gonna be a very quick conversation because we have several iterations of a draft and Carrie's already done. So that's literally presenting to you all, hey, here's the hurricane protocol of what we do. And then you guys can kind of add to it or take away, but that shouldn't be a heavy
Considering we're
conversation.
coming up to hurricane season, can we just ask that that be put on the next regular board meeting agenda? If that's
Sure.
that easy?
I think so.
And then the parking thing, because I also still want to address the item, the bigger question, not just signs, but the what was allowed under the development order, if we want to get into the business of side street parking and everything else, and
Right.
all the other things, the painting and the signs and the blah, 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 that
That's a lot.
Yeah, and this is a continuing issue, because when Russ and Carrie at our last Madigan meetings, the county had no idea how the signs work for the street, the names, and trying to put them on stop signs, right? Or a separate sign or something, so even the county doesn't know what they're doing.
Well,
And
That's
that was-
surprising.
Yeah, that was kind of my feeling, looking at some of these old agreements, I mean, no one is at the county who knows
So-
anything about.
I would also, if we're gonna do that meeting, I would recommend we ask Ray Stangler or somebody from the traffic department. We're gonna be talking to ourselves if we don't have the county in that meeting.
Well, yeah, that was actually something Jan was gonna flesh out and present as part of the meeting, but, so I don't know whether it's this. You
It
can
might
do
make,
that.
it might make sense to invite somebody from the county, because I mean, it's.
Ray hasn't been at a meeting for ours in a year and a half anyway, I mean.
Since his first.
So two separate things. Let's do it once at a time. So we're gonna add the hurricane protocol to the April agenda.
April?
May.
We're in April, that would be correct. May.
We're not in.
The May agenda, and then the meeting for Tuesday, the 13th. Are we, number one, gonna keep it for signs? Number two, change the date. So Dave can be there, or are you saying we don't?
I
Will you
think
be
we
ready?
should, I think we should change the date. I mean, if you can't be there, you're the biggest proponent. And
She
I don't
doesn't say
think there's a lot of,
problem.
I don't think there's a lot of. There's not a lot of direction from the development, the signage agreements out there.
All right, so at this meeting, are we looking to have county weigh in during the meeting, asking them beforehand and then going over their response?
Yeah, maybe I need to know exactly what signs, I mean, the ones you took the pictures of, are those the signs we're worried about?
Yeah, unless somebody wants to add to it.
No, I wanted to address the entire town. I don't wanna do 10 signs in downtown. If there are other questions of other sections of town, because we talk about it in these meetings, hey, do we like the crosswalk signs? Do we like these signs? If we're gonna talk about this, I wanna
See,
talk
I don't
about
think,
this. and
I
not
mean,
talk about this
crosswalk
again.
and.
I got it. I
speed
picked those
limit signs, yeah,
arbitrarily.
but your speed limit, all those kind of signs.
For
the
sure,
county
those are
has
gonna be
total
where they're gonna be.
jurisdiction.
But we've been brought up with no parking signs. I mean, I asked the question as to why we have no parking signs up and down Celebration Avenue. If it's sufficient to simply paint a curb yellow. Okay, then let's take out all the
Well,
signs,
then
paint
we
the
go
curb
back to
yellow.
that agreement that they said that we agreed that we didn't agree with.
The PUD, and that's my point is,
That's-
that's the bigger one, is I wanna know whether or not this board wants to
Well, how about,
fully
Well, that's
take that
another
on or
reason.
fully not take that
And
on.
that's a good thing to have the county have part of that discussion.
well, how about, I'll take that agreement and pull what I think we need to get out of that agreement. You know, what I think the boards really have agreed to, not what they think we agreed to.
Mhm.
And then the board can talk about it the next meeting as to where do we wanna go, so we can see whether we wanna have the county come to a workshop or. And it seems like it's too early to bring the county to something until we
Until
go
we
through
know.
exactly what it is we want.
Okay, with that being said,
no,
it's only the sign meeting, so what date do we want to move that to?
I'm not here the week of the 18th. And then it's Memorial Day.
I will not be here Memorial Day. Carrie might.
I mean, this is gonna be problematic once we get into June, because then we're in summer schedules and people are gone.
Are we looking for Mondays?
Any days that you want except for Saturday
Bring
and
beer
Sunday,
open to Friday.
no Friday.
So you're talking about moving the 13th to another day
Friday.
then?
What about the 14th?
You gonna move the 13th to another day then?
14th, I cannot.
Yeah, move the 13th, and we're not gonna do hurricane and signs, it's just gonna be sign.
I mean, it doesn't have to,
Yeah.
we could push it into the summer. We're doing budgets anyway.
I would prefer we got enough on our plate, to deal with the budget and
Yeah, I was
numbers
gonna
and
say, you don't
stuff.
wanna have a.
There's nobody screaming about this, there's not an imminent problem, I agree with you, Dave, I wanna tackle it, I'd like to do it on the tail end.
So do you want to cancel the May 13th meeting until we can maybe discuss it in April, when everybody has their calendars up?
We got our calendars up, I hate.
When is our,
Okay.
when is our
ahead.
regular June meeting?
The 23rd.
June
23rd.
the last, yeah, 23rd.
Oh, jeez.
We moved that one to Monday, the 22nd.
It's Dave's
Sorry, yeah,
Monday.
Monday, the 23rd, yeah.
No, okay, never mind, my idea didn't work. We can't do it before that meeting.
And I will tell you, right after that, we're probably going out of town for 2 weeks. I'm shot through early July.
Well, we'll go with you and you have to pay for everything. in another meeting.
Cool.
You know what? Have Dave pay for it. He's the one who can't leave. Right?
When can you
It's his
start,
meeting.
when can you start being Tuesday free?
July. Starting, yeah, starting July, 22nd.
Oh, that's
All right.
not July, that's.
That's August.
Yeah.
So,
July 22nd is still July.
so we need
I
to
don't-
have that May 13th meeting, no matter what.
No,
No.
we're not having it.
But do we need to move it or?
Well,
Is
if
move it or
you
lose it?
want to talk about signs of what can be removed and not be removed, then yes.
Workshop, or could we add it to the July meeting?
Can I add it to the?
Well, we made it a workshop because Jan said it's pretty hairy.
Well, maybe we could try adding it to the July meeting.
We like 6-hour meetings.
When's our July meeting?
July's meeting's gonna be your
29th.
budget meeting.
Oh,
29th is
Let's
the
not do
On
that.
budget.
Let's
Yeah.
let's not do that.
Oh, well, hold on a sec, we don't, but for the budget meeting, don't we just say approved?
Oh, no, you're gonna have a lot of
No.
people here to say
It's a
it.
public
You stay
hearing,
with 100 people.
yeah. Everybody gets an opportunity to speak, and if you're increasing assessments, we will have people here.
Especially since we're raising it 155%.
Yeah.
Yeah, last
It went from
Well, that's what
52 to
Dave said.
150.
Yeah, I was out of town. last
I'm not
year.
voting
We had
for
it
that.
in
That-
place.
that-
I
yeah,
remember I
I
said
hated it.
poor Jay, I was like, oops, sorry. All right, how about July 22nd?
That's gonna be the budget meeting.
No, July.
No.
No, the 29th
Oh, the
is the
29th,
budget.
sorry.
meeting.
That's
I could do the
first-
22nd.
That's the first day Dave is free.
I could do it twice.
I would prefer we just wait until school's back. If we're doing that, I would prefer we wait another 2 weeks until school's in session in August. That way they'll miss back. Yeah, it's like the 6th or 7th.
That's so weird.
Wow.
Well, you're not in school. Your kids are taking summer. I mean, we take all summer? Come on.
See my wife's plans for summer travel.
I'm telling you. You're a little too ambitious.
I don't care. But
I
It's
prefer
your
that in
meeting.
August. If people want to do it all July 22nd, then if I can make it. on
I, July 22nd looks. All right, now we'll go to August, then
August what?
August. Well, 12th,
Can't do the 12th.
well, that's when school's. in
You
session.
said, you said, wait so long.
I said,
oh
after the
my.
6th.
Yeah, it's the 12th. I told you 12th is
I
out.
had your
It's
way.
after the 6th.
Man, unbelievable.
I can do the 11th.
Fine, 11.
August 11th?
Alright.
I like Mondays though, I'll take one.
No, dude, don't take any.
Don't take one to the team. Greg's taking the whole summer, so you might as well take one fall.
All right, 11th,
Should be.
Monday the 11th,
Monday.
5 PM, sharp. Done.
Monday, August 11th, 5 PM, Brenda. We sure, because this is cost money to advertise.
Yes, I can do the 11th. Also, when you say 5 sharp, you're a little late today.
One day.
I'm just saying, you say
I
sharp.
want
Now
to
we
go
can all
back
be
to,
late
I
one
want to
day.
go back to the meeting minutes.
Is there anything other than signs that you want to put on this
Well,
workshop?
This would be more than just signs. This would be.
This is a lot of county items.
This
This
is
is-
signs, the county road
The
striping.
road striping.
that-
Yeah, and then how the, right,
Any roadway consideration
and-
stuff.
for example, this goes back to this study with the blinking lights, that some guy just decided to go to the county, and now we've got a study, so what the heck's the protocol? Can any clown in
Yes.
town?
Hey.
Yes.
Don't
Yeah.
tell resident things.
Without our,
Yes.
Yes.
And that's how we.
100%.
We have no authority, even if this comes back and y'all are like, oh my
If
gosh,
it's a
we
traffic-
hate
if
this,
it's a
there's
traffic
still
signal, then the
nothing we
county
can
is
do.
absolutely gonna-
Exactly, and we don't like that.
And I don't wanna be in the middle of
Yeah,
that.
then they said we
I'm-
agreed to.
I'm not here on August 11th.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, done.
I just asked.
I
but
know,
like,
I
he's
just
like,
looked at
"No
it.
big deal. I can be here.
Okay.
Well, I'll try to get information out sooner,
So-
so if it.
Signs,
We can knock
road
issues
striping,
down.
so any county related
Roadway south.
Yes.
Road
issues,
related stuff.
Road stuff.
county,
County right
however
away.
you wanna
Parking
phrase that, Brenda,
issues.
county related items.
Sure, sure. And I did already submit an ad for May 15, but I'll have that canceled. I'll get the website and everything updated and cancel May 13.
Okay, perfect.
Anything else, Dave?
Then our regular meeting is Tuesday, May 27th. That is approving the proposed budget. How many of you are gonna be here?
Or which day is this?
May 27th.
I'm here.
I need 3 of you at least.
Yep.
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm taking one for the team, right?
You're about to take one.
Wow.
Go up an hour and a half later. You'll be here.
I'll be there.
All right, so we're good, as long as we're good, May 27th and July 29th.
Yes.
July 29th is your final adopted budget.
Yeah.
I need at least 3 of you here to be able to do that.
What happened?
I think all 5 of us need to be here taking the hits.
Yeah, June's
I think it's
Monday.
3.
Can we bring it up now, just because it was an issue last year? Are we doing the July 29th meeting here, or are we gonna ask to do it in Heritage Hall?
We have to because we can't move the AV system.
I think it should be here. We didn't even have enough people in Heritage Hall that couldn't have fit here. I mean, we had people, but we were
Wasn't
expecting like this
hundreds.
crazy number and it,
People were here for the
No.
bonds.
yeah.
That's what they were here about.
Okay.
I think we should be okay, but it depends.
Right.
What percentage you all end on. We may have to go to another location.
Just throwing it out there.
An undisclosed location.
Yeah, undisclosed.
It'll be virtual.
Exactly, if I was to tell you where.
Yeah. So I think we need to keep that in mind,
Just keep it open.
where you guys
Yes.
end on, in between there
It's
to
above
be able.
5% at the Heritage Hall. It's above 50, it's an above.
But see, we had a problem with the AV at Heritage Hall, but now it works fine. I'm assuming no issues there, just in case we need.
Well, that's a vote of confidence right there.
They say it's working.
Oh, no, that's, all right, so,
Fine.
do you have anything else? Okay, I don't have anything,
Nothing.
nothing,
I did
okay.
have one other. I told you by the time I got.
Yeah, we've already gone through here, all right,
Sorry.
take your one.
We have not
One.
yet, and it'll be one. Realizing that we're done with incorporation, we have never gotten a final report from them. We've said this several times, to get a finalized report that we paid for.
Joe? I thought he responded and said that is the final report.
But it was all messed up.
Yeah, it was a mess.
Yeah, and Jan sent him thing. I don't think,
We,
I
we
think he
paid
said
for a
that's
deliverable
it.
that I would like to get the deliverable. So that when incorporation comes up, God knows whatever, at some point down the road, there is something that we spend our time on that is an actionable document to start with.
I sent an email to the chair of the committee that ran the bill. That was the last response I have from him.
So the bill to change the law, I think he thought since the law
Yeah.
changed, he didn't need to finish the report.
But we,
Why don't you ping them first and then I can go back and say
Okay.
we had an agreement.
And we don't need a presentation unless the board wants it. I would just like the finalized document that we
That's-
paid for.
that's-
I think we made comments to it and we just never did them.
We did.
Greg, I will officially say that was a very good question.
I got one more.
Don't get him
No.
started. Yeah, I was gonna say, don't get him started.
So I'm moving on tonight. Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay.
Well, no.
Public comment period, the last one.
Come on, Gary.
Come on, Gary.
Come on, Gary.
Are you on? Jan,
Uh,
okay. Carry on.
Motion adjourned?
Move to adjourn.
All right.
She wants to stay.
I'm so sad.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Brenda.
Just look right there.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
On the final page. Russell, you